All right. Shalom, shalom. Happy Sabbath to the 12 tribes of Israel. This is Brother Donnie here. And today we're getting into who is Satan. It's a big topic. It's a big topic. Not even just in Israel, but just in the world. Who is this great deceiver, right? The greatest deceiver, the one who deceived the whole world, right? This class is identifying who is Satan, who is that person, right? And this is going to be a two-part lesson. And this first part is mainly getting the understanding of who Satan is from reading through the story of Job. And through the second part, we can then see Satan all throughout the scriptures with the understanding of who he is and seeing if that same logic still applies. So like I said, who is Satan? Before we get into the lesson, let's go ahead and get some of these comments. See who's in on the lesson. All right. We have Brother Xavier first on. Hey, happy Sabbath to you, bro. Lord's will, all is safe from, the home state, Florida. It's not my real home state. My real home state or home country is Israel, but, the Lord had me out the matrix in Florida. So hey, you're where the Sunshine State is. Hello, hello. Oh, okay, we're back. We're back. So yeah, you're where the Sunshine State is. So yeah, Lord's will, you guys are enjoying that sunlight right there. Then we have Sister Yulia. Shalom to you, sis. Happy Sabbath in the building. Hey, shut up. We have my wife, Most High's World. Hey, shalom to you. And it is the Most High's World. Happy Sabbath to you. And like what she said, let's continue to strive for greatness. And that greatness is the commandments. That greatness is the good thing. The only thing that good is God. And that's because the only thing that's good is the commandments. So we got Sister Victoria as well. Happy Sabbath to you, sis. Sister Tamaya in the building. Happy Sabbath. Shalom to you. We have Brother Quell's Rib, Sister Destiny. Happy Sabbath to you, sis. Shalom, shalom. Brother Xavier's Rib, Sister Kayla. Happy Sabbath to you as well. All the way from Florida as well, with the whole family. Shalom to you, Brother Brew, Brother Decarius. Happy Sabbath to you. And we have sister or brother, shalom to you. Lord's will, you're a real person and not an android. And yeah, Lord's will, this lesson is edifying for you. Shalom to our scribe, Brother Sean, behind the scenes. Happy Sabbath. Yeah, he said hey, I'm not gonna lie. One thing I will never forget, because I used to work on pools, was my last 4 months being in Miami before I moved here. It was raining every week, every single week. I'm not exaggerating. I worked on pools, so I would know if there was a week it was not raining. It rained every single week for 4 months straight. That was actually kind of crazy. And yeah, happy Sabbath to the elder. Talk that truth. We talk that truth, or at least we try to around here. And yeah, so let's go ahead, send our prayers to the Most High, and then we'll go ahead and get into the lesson. All right, Israel, blow trumpets. First and foremost, we'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High God, the God of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, the God who surnamed Jacob and gave him the surname Israel, the God who surnamed the whole people, the God who chosen us from the very beginning before we even had our first thought, Before we even said our first word, you thought about us, Father, and you predestined us. And we thank you, Father, for allowing us to come here together in unity, and for allowing us to come here together to grow, to increase knowledge and to increase understanding, not for our own selves, but so we can better understand you and thy only begotten Son, your first creation. So we can better understand our King that gave his own life for us, his own body for us. So we can better understand the mind of that man and the mind that was placed inside him from you. And Father, I ask that you will continue to take care of our brothers and sisters that's sick and shut in, for our brothers and sisters that may not have the opportunity right now to be free, our brothers and sisters that may not have the opportunity right now to be healthy and to be in a healthy body or in a healthy mind. Father, I ask that you give them comfort, and the comfort be through thy word and through thy testimonies and through thy prophecies, that they may hearken on and repent and return back unto you, so that they may be healed with that everlasting water and that everlasting bread. So in that I say all praise and glory be to the Most High God and thy only begotten Son, forever and ever. Amen. All right. Do I keep it on low? Okay, so like I said, who is Satan, right? Who is the devil? So the purpose of this class is to identify who Satan is according to the scriptures, using the story of Job as the foundation for our understanding. Okay. Hey, I was hearing myself double talk, I was talking to myself. But so yeah, like I said, the purpose of this class is so we can identify who Satan is, and so we can have a better understanding of who he is and how the Lord is using him, right? But before we get all into that, we're gonna go ahead, get some foundational scriptures. Let's get the book of Genesis, chapter 6 and verse 5. Oh snap! Hey, all praises to Brother Quell. I almost forgot to pay homage to the sister. Hey, that's why we have our brothers here. That's my keeper right there. So let's get Matthew 26 and verse 6. Yeah. Bear with us, Israel. Give us one moment. All right. All right. So give us a one in the chat if the sound and camera is good. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I just want to make sure that we are good. So give us a one in the chat if the sound and the camera's good. Okay, cool. So, like I said, let's go ahead and pay homage to that sister. Let's get Matthew chapter 26 and verse 6.
This is Matthew chapter 26 and verse 6. Now, when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, Why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman hath done, be told for a memorial of her.
Okay, so whenever we go ahead and we give out the the true gospel, we always make sure to pay homage to the woman that poured the ointment on the body of our Messiah, Jesus the Christ. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and get to our first scripture, which is going to be Genesis chapter 6 and verse 5. Okay, I know what threw me off. I forgot to read this before I prayed. And then, that messed up the whole flow. But don't worry, we back. So yeah, like I said, Genesis chapter 6 and verse 5.
This is Genesis chapter 6 and verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth.
What did he see of man that was great?
And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth.
Nah, the good things of man.
Saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth.
Read.
And that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
Now, only evil sometimes.
Only evil continually.
Okay, let's get Genesis 8 and 21. I want to drive home on this point.
This is Genesis chapter 8 and verse 21. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth.
From what?
From his youth.
Not only when he's, an adult.
From his youth.
Not when he's a child.
From his youth.
Read.
Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done.
Okay, so, this is the Lord or Christ telling Moses, like, look, I know you've seen me open up the firmament and caused rain to fall. You've seen water fall from the sky for the first time in your entire life. Well, guess what? Whenever you see that rain, it's not going to flood the entire earth no more. Now that's just how the plants are going to get watered. Now this is going to be a normal thing. Because just know I'm not going to do this for man's evil heart no more. I'm not gonna wipe everybody out with the flood because man is evil no more. And the main point that I want to get on that is that the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, right? And then in 6 and 5, it says that the imaginations of a man's heart is evil continually, right? So the baseline that I want us to understand is that, a man's heart, which is his mind, is innately wicked, is innately evil, right? The things that we want that comes from our flesh are things that have nothing to do with God. Us being hungry has nothing to do with God. Us wanting to drink some water, if it's not the water of the word, has nothing to do with God, right? Us wanting to go ahead, and I'm like, dang, I stink. I'm gonna go take a shower. That has nothing to do with God, right? God wants me to wash myself, but he wants me to wash myself with the water of the word. Not saying that God wants y'all musty. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, the things that we feel, the things that are physical to us have nothing to do with the Most High. And that's something that we need to understand before we go into Job. So let's go into Job chapter 1 and we'll read verse 6. Like I said, this is going to be a 2-part class. We got a lot to go into. So hopefully we can cover everything that needs to be covered today.
This is Job chapter 1 and verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them.
Okay, so I'm going to ask everybody this question here. Now it said, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, right? Okay, so I want to ask in the chat, is the sons of God, is that like a spiritual, is that spiritual beings, or is that real people? Are those, the celestial angels we hear about that Elisha caused, to the captain to see, and he saw the angels of fire with the swords in their hand? Or are these people, and I guess to make it easy, put a 1 if you think it's a celestial being, and put a 2 if you think it's, real people alive on the earth. Okay, so Victoria said 1, celestial being. All right, do we have anybody else? Anybody else? The sons of God. Okay, Christina says 2, so she thinks it's people. All right. Sister Tamaya, celestial beings. Okay. Brother Sean, he thinks it's people too. All right. And Sister Yulia, celestial beings. Okay. So this is the first part that we're gonna touch on. The sons of God, right? Let's go to Luke 3, because I don't wanna give anything away. So let's go to Luke 3, and we'll let God explain, and I'll try to steer the ship. And we'll go to verse 23.
This is Luke chapter 3 and verse 23. And Jesus himself began to be about 30 years of age, being, as was supposed, the son of Joseph, which was the son of Heli.
Okay. Now jump down to verse 31.
Verse 31. Which was the son of Malaiah, which was the son of Menan, which was the son of Mattatha, which was the son of Nathan, which was the son of David.
Okay, so first in 23, we say, hey, there's this guy named Jesus, and Jesus was a descendant of this person, who was a descendant of this person, right? We know that Jesus' father on the earth was Joseph, right? His mother was Mary, right? And then we jump down to verse 31. This is still talking about the same Jesus and his descendants, because we're following along, right? And in verse 31, it says, which was the son of Malaiah, which was the son of Menan, which is the son of Matthiah, which was the son of Nathan, which was the son of David, right? And this is King David, right? This is one of the greatest kings to ever do it, right? Now, how do we know this is the King David that we know from the scripture? Let's get verse 32.
Verse 32, which was the son of Jesse.
Which was the son of who?
Which was the son of Jesse.
Now, David's father was Jesse, right? So this is how we know that this is still talking about, the descendants of Christ. So keep reading.
Which was the son of Obed, which was the son of Boaz, which was the son of Salmon, which was the son of Naasan.
All right, now get verse 34. We're still jumping down through these, I guess his ancestors, not descendants, excuse me. We're still jumping down through his ancestors. Let's get verse 34.
Verse 34, which was the son of Jacob, which was the son of Isaac, which was the son of Abraham, which was the son of Thorah, which was the son of Nachor.
Okay, so now we see which was the son of Jacob, the son of Isaac, the son of Abraham. In the prayer, I said, the Most High God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? So these are the pillarmen, if you would say. These are the founding fathers, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The fathers that all of Israel knows, most of the world knows very well, right? Well, these men, right, were ancestors to Christ when he walked this earth in a fleshly body. Christ chose to came from a bloodline of men, right, that he likened to. He created everything, and then he looked at everything. He was like, where will my inheritance be? Where will my lineage be? You know what? It will be in the lineage of Adam, who will eventually create Jacob, who I will eventually surname and call Israel, right? We all following along, right? How do I know this is true? Let's get verse 38, because it said the sons of God, right? Let's get verse 38.
Verse 38, which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the Son of God.
Okay. So Brother Quell, was Adam a celestial being?
Adam was a man.
Okay. So Adam was a man, right? Brother Quell, was our forefather Abraham, was he a celestial being with wings on his back?
He was a man as well.
Okay. So these were all men, and these men were called the sons of God, right? So I'm bringing this out so I can show y'all that when y'all see the sons of God, it doesn't always have to be something spiritual. It doesn't always have to be spiritual in a sense to where it's, like people that we can't see, ghosts. Now, I'm not saying those things don't exist in the scriptures, because they do, right? I'm not saying that those things are not there. They're there. It's just that they're not as prominent as we think. We think that way because when we was in the world, before we came into the knowledge of God, we were given a predisposition of who the heathen think God is and who the heathen think all these stories are about in the Bible. So when we come into the truth with the knowledge of God, we still have those predispositions in the back of our head. And those predispositions can cause us to misinterpret something. And this is why we went to Luke 3, to show that the sons of God were physical people. Does that make sense to anybody? If that makes sense to people, put a 1 in the chat. If it does not make sense, put 2, I don't get it. And while that goes on, we'll go back to Job 1 and verse 6. Okay, we got 1, all praises, all praises. And if it's really not making sense, hey, don't be timid or shy to put that 2 in there, because hey, maybe it's something that the Most High needs me to go deeper in, So, but hey, all praises to the Most High. So far, everybody's saying 1. So with that knowledge, the sons of God, right? Now we're getting back to Job 1 and verse 6. Can you reread that for us, Brother Quell?
This is Job chapter 1 and verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them.
And Satan. Oh, okay. So the sons of God are real people. They're people that's walking around, living. Oh, that's a good scripture. Yeah, Deuteronomy 14 and 1. And I'll read that real quick. Ye are the children of the Lord your God. Ye shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. The main part, ye are the children of the Lord your God. That's why he gave us these commandments. That's why after he said that, he gave us commandments. He gave us rules, because God is like, if you're going to be in my house under my roof, you got to live under my rules, right? That's, hey, I know for every black person, that hit home, right? Then that's why, because we're the children of God. That's why we act that way, even though we're away from the commandments, even though we're away from God. We still have godly tendencies because we're his children, right? So when we go to that Job 1 and 6, we now understand that, okay, so there was a day in the past that, the people that was chosen, because why I also brought that up in Luke 6 was to show that the sons of God are not just technically Israelites, right? But the sons of God are the people that was chosen from Adam. That's who the sons of God are, right? Because Adam, God referred to him as his son, right? And then it went on all the way down to Abraham, all the way down to Isaac. So because people will try to trip you up, they'll be like, well, the chosen are Israelites. Abraham's not an Israelite, brother. Isaac's not an Israelite, brother. So when we talk about the sons, no, that's goofy, right? The sons of God are just people that were living righteously according to God's commandments, because that's what righteous is the law. There are people that were living in accordance to God's law, and God was like, you know what? I want more of your children, so let me deal with you, okay? So these sons of God were chosen people, right? And now we see Satan. I said that we're going to find out who this Satan is, right? Let's go to 2nd Esdras chapter 6 and verse 54, because I also want to touch on, just in case there was any doubts on the sons of God being people other than, the children directly from Israel, but just being the people that God chosen. Let's get 2nd Esdras 6 and 54.
This is 2nd Esdras chapter 6 and verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen.
Now notice there is a distinction in that sentence. He says, of whom come we all, and the people who you chosen. Let's get verse 56.
Verse 56. As for the other people,
No, as for everybody.
As for the other people.
No, as for the people that you chosen.
As for the other people.
Read.
Which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing.
No, they are counted righteous.
Thou hast said that they are nothing.
God loves everybody.
They are nothing.
Read.
But be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
All right, so I'm going to ask y'all a question. This is a question that the elder had asked when he went over the scripture very early when I was in the truth. He was like, hey, if you guys are carrying a bucket of water, and you're carrying this bucket of water, and you see a drop of water come out that bucket while you're carrying that water, are you going to put the bucket down and get a turkey baster and try to get every drop of water that fell out that bucket, or are you going to keep going? Because if you're gonna do that, hey, I mean, shoot, you got to learn how to let things go. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. That's why God used that comparison, because, hey, God looks at them like a drop of water that came from a bucket. You know, he's just like, oh, that drop, all right, they'll be okay, because I know my chosen, I know the people who were predestined are still counted for in this bucket, right? And then we have we have a scoffer here. God is a coping mechanism pushed on kids, so the adults feel better about pretending. What really is the truth is that the line of thinking that you have was actually pushed on when you was a child, saying that all of this doesn't make sense, saying that the Bible is written by so many people, saying that there's all these different translations, so everything gets muddied across the water. That line of thinking was pushed on you when you was a child. So when you got to an adult, now you feel as though as you know everything without actually having read the Bible yourself, having, read the source material. That's who I was. Hey, I was this person right here. I was literally that person. My dad is an educated man. I talk about my dad all the time. He was an educated man. My dad taught me how to think for myself. So what do you think, me as a kid, what do you think what I grew up thinking? I grew up thinking, oh, well, man, that shit's not real. Even if it is real, it's not going to be coming from that book. That's a book. That's fallible. That's susceptible to error, right? That's just words on a page. Meanwhile, I never read the Bible myself. Now I read the Bible myself, and I'm right here. I'm right here against this person right here scoffing at the word of the Lord. And that goes to show you how powerful the word is, right? And it's like the Lord saying, wink at ignorance. Oof. Is he? Yeah, Santa is in the imagination. That's who he's referring to. But anyways, so back onto the lesson, right? Everybody did come from Adam, right? Because, the only people that's alive are the people that came from Noah, right? Because God was like, you know what? You and your children are going to be the only people that's going to be alive after this flood. So, hey, everybody, all of us, we all come from Adam. But there's only a select group of people that is chosen from Adam. And those are the sons of God, right? So like I said, let's get back to that Job 1 and verse 6. And we'll read verse 7. Because it said, then Satan came among them, right? So let's get that verse 7.
This is Job chapter 1 and verse 7. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth and walking up and down in.
Okay. So this Satan, the Lord was able to talk to, right? The Lord was able to talk to this Satan, and this Satan spoke back to the Lord, right? The Lord was like, man, Satan, what the hell? How'd you get up in here? Hey, where'd you came from, man? Satan's like, oh, you know me, man, from walking up to the highest point of the earth to going to the lowest point of the earth, from going to and fro around the whole earth. Yeah, man, you know how I do, right? Let's go to Second Chronicles 16 and verse 9, because this Satan is not a physical person. This Satan is not a different person that's talking to Christ. And we're going to prove it with that verse right there. There's a reason why the Lord said, "Whence comest thou, Satan?" He's given us a clue. Let's get Second Chronicles chapter 16 and verse 9.
This is Second Chronicles chapter 16 and verse 9. For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth.
Now, throughout some of the earth,
throughout the whole earth,
read,
to shew himself strong in the behalf of them whose heart is perfect toward him.
Okay. So let's go back to Job 1 and verse 6. We're going to be doing a bunch of flipping. You know, I'm sorry, but hey, this is what happens. So we're going back to Job 1 and verse 7, excuse me, not 6. The Lord said unto Satan, "Whence comest thou?" And Satan said, "From going to and fro in the earth," right? Now, Second Chronicles 16 and 9 says, did it say the eyes of Satan run to and fro around the earth? Brother Quell, did it say the eyes of Satan?
The eyes of the Lord.
Okay, so the eyes of the Lord run to and fro around the earth, right? But Satan can do this too. He's a celestial being. He's a spirit. He's somebody, he's the adversary that is working for the Most High God in Christ. He is listening to their commands. So of course he's able to run to and fro around the earth just like Christ. He's a spirit. He's a celestial being. Let's go to Sirach 24 and verse 3. Because Satan said, hey man, I came from exploring the entire earth, right? He said going to and fro around the whole earth, walking up and down in it. What does that mean? He went to the highest point of the earth, then he went to the lowest point of the earth. Satan said he traveled the entire earth, right? Let's get Sirach 24, and we'll start at verse 3.
This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 24 and verse 3. I came out of the mouth of the Most High and covered the earth as a cloud.
Okay, so he said he came out of the mouth of the Most High, right? This is talking about Christ. When the Most High said, "Let there be light," boom, we have Christ, right? And Second Esdras, when it was talking about the creation and what was going on each day, before the first day, but before all the creation, started to take place, God said that a fair light was born. A fair light was born, and we know that wasn't the sun, because later on it said that the sun, moon, and stars were created for the lights, right? For the lights in the firmament. So that great light, that first light, was not the literal ball of the sun. That first light, when God said, "Let there be light," that was Christ. I came out of the mouth of the Most High and covered the earth as a cloud. Read.
I lost verse 4.
Yep.
Was it 23? 24. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Verse 4. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 24 and verse 4. I dwelt in high places, and my throne is in a cloudy pillar.
Read.
I alone.
No. The devil too.
I alone.
No, Satan as well.
I alone.
Read.
Compassed the circuit of heaven and walked in the bottom of the deep.
Okay, so what does that sound like to you? Let's go to Job 1 and verse 7, because in Sirach 24, he said, "I alone," right? Because, I don't want to make sure I'm tripping. And he said, me and the devil, traveled the whole circuit of heaven, right? Christ said, "I alone," right? So when we go to Job 1 and verse 7.
This is Job chapter 1 and verse 7. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it.
Okay, so if this Satan is a different person, then that would mean Christ just told us a lie. If this Satan is a different person, then Jesus Christ told us a lie. And we know that's impossible, right? Let's go to Hebrews 3 and 13.
This is Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 13.
13. There you go. Hebrews 13 and 8. Excuse me. Got the wrong scripture in my head.
Hebrews 13.
Yep.
And 3.
And verse 8.
Oh, verse 8.
Yep.
So, okay, here we go. This is Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 8. Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today and forever.
No, only sometimes.
And forever.
No, only when Satan appears in the court.
And forever.
Okay. So when we go to Job 1 and 7, it said Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever, right? So that means Jesus Christ doesn't change, right? Jesus Christ is also the Word, right? That's John 1 and 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, right? Not saying Jesus Christ is the Most High God, but the word God is also just a title, just like the word master, right? The word teacher, right? So in the beginning was the Word, which is Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ said in the beginning, it was only him. Did he say Lucifer off of AMC from that TV show was there with him? Did he say Legion was there with him? No, he said I alone, only me. I was the one that traveled this entire earth. I was the one that looked through every nook and cranny of this planet because I created everything. I walked the highest point of the earth and I walked the bottom point of the earth. It was me, I alone. Is that making sense to everybody so far? Put a 1 in the chat if it's making sense and put a 2 if it's not making sense so far. Because again, Satan said in verse 7, hey, I came from traveling to and fro around the earth, right? He said, I came from walking up and down in the earth, right? Now, 2 Chronicles 16 and 9 says that the eyes of the Lord roams to and fro around the earth. Sirach 24 and 5 said, I alone compass the circuit of heaven. To compass something means you traveled the whole thing. He said, I alone. No one else had did this, right? And if we go by the scriptures, and the scriptures say, you know, Jesus Christ doesn't change, or that it's impossible for God to lie, Romans 3 and 4, right? We should have went there, but hey, there you go if you want to look for it, right? At the end of the day, if God doesn't lie, then what we need to do is if we're thinking something that goes against what God says, we are coming into a crossroads now to where do I Hello? Okay, cool. All right. So, like I was saying, hey, the boogeyman's coming after us right now. He's like, hey, you got to stop bringing that out. But so you're coming into a crossroads right now. If you're thinking something that goes against what God said previously, now you have to be like, do I trust myself or do I trust God? Because God said this would never happen. So if God said this would never happen, then my original understanding on what this is has to be wrong, right? So now, when I was talking to my wife about this, she was like, well, you saying Jesus had an evil thought? You saying Jesus could have an evil thought? And I know it sounds crazy, right? Hey, y'all might, hey, put those stones down, please. Don't do me like Stephen. Put them stones down and give me a trial. Let me explain myself. Because, yes, Christ did have an evil thought. And I'm going to tell you right now that Satan is anything that is against the word. It could be a thought. It could be a person that's embodying the spirit of Satan. That's why Paul told Peter, get thee from behind me, Satan. Why? Because Peter was trying to stop Christ from dying. What had to have taken place in the word? Christ had to die, right? So Peter trying to stop Christ was Peter going against the word. Okay, so how is Christ right now having an evil thought towards Job? Because I mean, shoot, Job was righteous. Job did no sin. I thought God was just testing Job to see, you know, how righteous he was, right? But again, if what you understand goes against what the Lord said previously, you have to throw it out. That means you didn't understand it correctly, and that's okay. Let's go to verse 8, because again, hey, the Lord is talking to Satan, right? Verse 8.
Verse 8. Jesus Christ, the same yesterday. And to
my bad. In Job.
Job.
Yeah, my bad. We're in Job 1 in verse 8. My bad, Israel. I'm moving too fast.
This is Job chapter 1 and verse 8. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil?
Read.
Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught?
Okay, so Christ is like, man, what about this nigga Job right here? Isn't he cold? Like, isn't he tough, man? Like, doesn't he keep these commandments, right? And then Satan replied, like, does he fear you for no reason? Right? Why would Satan say this? Right? Why would Christ be having this thought? Because if this thought is Christ, why would Christ be having this thought about Job, right? Because it said, hey, even Christ said, hey, isn't there nobody like Job? A perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and puts evil far away from him, right? Now, I'm going to ask y'all this before y'all do something bad, right? So like, let's say, I know when I first came into the truth, I had to come around not cooking on the Sabbath. My whole life, I'm so used to heating something up so I can eat something on the Sabbath. My whole mindset, I have to change who I am. So when I was first keeping the Sabbath, man, there was times where I'm like, damn, I'm so hungry because I didn't prepare like God told me to, and I'm starving. Damn, don't I got some cup noodles right here? Man, these cup noodles would be so fire if I just heated these up. Man, wouldn't they taste good? No, I can't do that. I can't do that because the scripture says, Exodus 16 and 23, but damn, these noodles look so good. Nah, but Exodus 31, I have to keep the Sabbath. The Sabbath day is holy, right? So when I ask y'all, before you do something bad, do you talk to yourself? That's what's happening with Christ. Christ is talking to himself. He's like, man, isn't this nigga Job cold? Man, isn't Job a righteous man? But damn, is he doing all this for no reason? Is he serving me for no reason? That's why he says, does Job fear God for naught? Is he keeping these commandments for no reason? But why is Christ thinking this? Why is he thinking this? Let's go to verse 1 now in the same chapter.
This is Job chapter 1 and verse 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and escheweth evil.
And just like what Christ said in his thoughts, man, hey, he fears God. He casts evil away from him. He makes sure he stiff arms that evil, like he's running to a touchdown, right? Verse 2.
Verse 2, and there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters.
Now keep that number in mind. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. 7 sons. How many days are in the week, right? How many days are in the week, Brother Quell?
7 days.
Okay. So 7 days in a week, he has 7 sons, right? And 3 daughters. Okay. Verse 4.
Verse 4, and his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them.
Okay. So, we know that majority of Israel thinks that their children were celebrating their birthdays, right? They use this because it's like, oh yeah, it said everyone his day and sent and called for their 3 sisters, right? Okay. So when I was reading through this the second time, what caught my eye was that they were drinking. I was like, wait, what the heck? They were drinking. Why are they drinking? And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with drinking. There's nothing wrong with drinking. But I'm like, why was they specific in making sure their sisters were there and they were just drinking all night, right? And this is what I would say, right? If you had a son, right? Just say you had a son and a daughter, right? Would you let your daughter, Brother Quell, would you let Rin just go to a bar at night just to drink with some dudes?
No, so
What about her brother? Would you just let her go out to a bar to just, drink all night? Well, not even a bar, her brother's house. She wanted, Daddy, I'm going to go to Quell Jr.'s house and I'm going to spend the night at Quell Jr.'s house and we're going to party all night.
Nah, I still rather have her in my house.
Because that's your daughter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we get into this mindset, now we're like, what was going on, right? Let's get Sirach 9 and verse 9. because it said everyone his day. Now, he has 7 sons, right? So his sons had a day to spend with their sisters. Because think about it. If they were celebrating their birthday, why would they not make sure the rest of their brothers are with them for their birthday? So you telling me, okay, so, hey, Brother Donnie, Brother Quell, we both brothers, right? So, it's my birthday, and instead of getting Brother Quell with me, Brother Sean, Brother Decarius, Brother Xavier, I'm like, hey, I need Sister Sarah, I need Sister Destiny, I need Sister Kayla, and Sister Christina to celebrate my birthday at my house. Does that seem right?
No.
Why would I not make sure my brothers are there? Hey, man, forget drinking with the sisters. I'd rather turn up with my brothers right here, man. That's where the joy is at. So why was their sons, everyone their day, having turns, spending the night with their sisters? Let's go to Sirach 9 and verse 9. And now I'm not saying that, hey, 100% there was fornication going here, right? Because at the end of the day, the Lord does not explicitly say that. So, right here, this is from my own context clues. Speak I, not the Lord. I'm just trying to put the puzzle pieces together, right? So, what we do know for a fact is that Job had 7 sons. For a fact, each son had a day out of the week to spend with their sisters. For a fact, to feast and to drink. For a fact, right? Like I said, Sirach 9 and verse 9.
This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 9 and verse 9. Sit not at all with another man's wife, nor sit down with her in thine arms, and spend not thy money with her at the wine.
At the what?
At the wine.
Why?
Lest thine heart incline unto her, and so through thy desire thou fall into destruction. Thy desire, what? Oh, hold on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, you got that. Yeah, through thy desire, they fall into destruction. Why? Because the wine's gonna lift your heart up. Your heart is your mind. It's gonna get you out of thinking clearly. That's why in 1 Peter 5 and 8 or 9 it says, "Be sober, be vigilant," because the devil is as a roaring lion, right? Who is the devil? Your mind. If you are out of your mind, if you are high all day, if you are drunk all day, then how the hell can you battle the devil, your mind, when your mind comes in with these evil thoughts? It's Day of Atonement. You wasn't studying. The devil is coming in. Hey man, I know you smacked that joint before the fast, man. Aren't you hungry? Them Little Debbie cupcakes look real good, don't they? Be sober, be vigilant, right? Even sober-minded, as in just thinking clear. If you're not sober on the word and you're getting drunk off the different doctrines, the different garbage that's out here in the world, then how are you going to fend off those thoughts of, what if you aren't an Israelite? How are you going to fend off those thoughts of, what if we don't need to keep commandments? How are you going to fend off those thoughts of, what if the heathen can be saved, right? If you're not sober, if you're not locked in, well, guess what? You're gonna do something off. You know why? Because Genesis 6 and 5 and Genesis 8 said that the hearts of men is evil continually. That the hearts of men is evil from youth, right? So if we know that it's our mind that is wicked, if we know that it's our mind that's evil, what do you think is gonna happen when we put our mind in a compromised position? Sin, right? That's why we went to Sirach 9 and 9. Now, if you don't believe me, hey, so Lot had, his 2 daughters with him, right? Okay. So, Lot got saved from Sodom and Gomorrah. That's a good thing, isn't it? Man, that's a fantastic thing, man. Hey, if the Lord was about to send the nuke on where we're at right now, and the Most High came to us and was like, "Hey, brothers, get y'all ass up out of here." Hey, we get up out there and we see the nuke and we're at a safe distance. Like, oh shoot, hey, that's great. What are we gonna be doing? We gonna turn up, aren't we? We gonna turn up. We gonna party. Hey man, hey, get the Woodford out, man. Get the tequila out, man. Get the Don Julio out, right? We're gonna party. Didn't Lot party? Didn't he have a good time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happened when Lot got drunk with his two daughters?
He had a little bit too much fun.
We got Moab and Ammon, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we go to Job 1, right? We go back to Job 1 and verse 4. And when it said his sons went in and feasted in their houses, everyone his day, right? His day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters, right? To eat and drink with them, right? Let's get another one. Let me get one more. Let's get let me see if I can find it. Okay, let's go to 1 Peter 4 and we'll get verse 2. We'll start at verse 2.
1 Peter 4 and 3.
Verse 2.
Yep. This is 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 2. That he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of God.
Okay, so hey, he's saying, hey, when we become that new creature, right? When we become born again, we're not living to the lust of our flesh, right? I just said, man, I'm hungry. God don't give a damn about that. That has nothing to do with his commandments. Dang, man, I want some better clothes, man. Hey, this shirt got a hole in it. That has nothing to do with God, right? Nothing to do with God. Dang, she got some. Ooh, oh man, what was her name again? Halle Berry. Damn, hey, she tough. That has nothing to do with God, right? Man, I want to turn up today, man. Oh, today was a great day. Man, it's Friday too, the Sabbath tomorrow. Man, let's turn up. Let's go ahead, turn up and drink. That still has nothing to do with God. These lusts of the flesh that we have nothing to do with the will of God, because the will of God is us denying the lust of our flesh. The will of God is us denying. What do you think that fasting is? Man, you don't think I want to eat something on Day of Atonement, but I'm like, you know what? I want the will of God. I don't want my own will. I want the will of God. So you know what? Even though my stomach is like, nigga, what are you doing? I'm going to still fast, and I'm going to hold true to this fast till God said I can eat, right? Why? Why do we want to live this way? Verse 3. No, you good.
This is 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 3. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles.
Okay, so it's like, hey, before we would have been happy just living like the dogs, man. We would have been happy just living like the animals. Read.
When we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine.
Excess of what?
Excess of wine.
Read.
Revelings, banquetings.
Wait, what is that word?
Banquetings.
What?
Banquetings. Yeah.
Okay, so excess of wine, banquetings. Okay, interesting.
and abominable idolatries.
Okay, let's go back to that Job 1. Because, man, why? Just like what my wife said, why would Christ have an evil thought towards Job? This is Christ, the greatest man to ever live. And I'm not saying this satirically. This is the greatest man to ever live, right? This is Jesus the Christ. But why? It was a good question. That's why I keep bringing it up. Why would he have an evil thought towards Job? And when my wife said that, I was laughing. And she was like, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? I wasn't laughing because I was laughing at her. I was laughing. Okay. Hey, we back. Like I said, hey, we fighting through all adversity, all adversity to get this out here, man. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I was laughing not because I was like that was a dumb question. I was laughing because I thought the same thing too, and that's why at first I thought I was wrong. I was like, oh man, maybe I'm bugging. I'm like, oh man, maybe I'm tripping. I don't think I know this. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna come back at it fresh. I'm gonna come back at it fresh mind. And then I came back, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'm not crazy, right? Just a little crazy, just not all the way there. But like I said, why would Christ have this evil thought towards Job? So when we go back to Job 1, and you can reread verse 4 from the top.
This is Job 1. This is Job chapter 1 and verse 4. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them.
All right, read.
And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all.
Why did Job do this? Read.
For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned.
Nah, they were just having a party.
It may be that my sons have sinned.
They were just celebrating a birthday.
That my sons have sinned.
Read.
And cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually.
Just for that night.
Continually.
So Job did this every day, right? And he did this because he said, man, I think them niggas are doing evil, right? Now, it said that he sent and sanctified them, right? Well, when we go to Hebrews 9, and in fact, we can go to Hebrews 9. Let's go to Hebrews 9, because it said he sanctified them. I want you guys to understand, Job's thought process. He sanctified them because in the old covenant, before Jesus Christ put his blood, his perfect body on the cross for a sacrifice, we had to go ahead and do the sacrifices. We had to go ahead to the altar, and we had to adhere to the ordinances that the Most High gave us in Leviticus. So let's you could get verse 1, Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 1.
This is Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 1. Then verily the first covenant had also ordinances of divine service and a worldly sanctuary.
Okay, and now notice how it said, it had ordinances of divine service, right? Of a divine service. Job went and made sure his children was sanctified, right? Why? Because his children sinned. So Job was like, okay, they sinned according to the ordinance. I have to sanctify them. I have to make sure that I get these offerings up to sanctify them and cleanse them for that sin. But notice it said Job was doing that continually, right? So if he was doing it continually, does that mean that his children stopped sinning? Or does that mean his children kept sinning and he had to keep sacrificing? I think it's the latter, right? How do we know this is true? Let's go to Hebrews 10 now and verse, we'll start at verse 2.
This is Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 2. For then would they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers once purged should have had no more conscience of sins.
Okay, so hey, he's saying if these sacrifices really worked, then wouldn't they stop offering the sacrifices? Was Job still offering the sacrifices? So now you see why Christ was like, you know what? I need to come down and I'm going to be the sacrifice. Look, you niggas stop worrying about getting the bulls, getting the goats. That's not why I had y'all do this in the first place. I had y'all do this so y'all could understand that sin equals blood. That's why I did this. But you guys got ish so good up in here that it don't even register that you are taking a life away because you made a mistake. You made a mistake, so you have to take something's life away to cleanse that mistake. You guys are not understanding that, because if you guys did, you rebellious ass Negroes would have stopped offering these damn sacrifices, right? Get verse 3 in chapter 10 for me, Brother Qual.
What was that?
Verse 3.
Verse 3.
Yep.
This is Job chapter 10 and verse 3.
Hebrews.
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 3. But in those sacrifices there is a remembrance again made of sins every year.
Nah, just, once.
Again made of sins every year.
Okay, so continually, right? Just like Job had to offer sacrifices continually. Now, let me not say Job had to offer these sacrifices, because that's not what Job did wrong, right? Job's children was in sin, and instead of Job rebuking them, Instead of Job setting the standard against them and being like, hey, you guys are not operating the way the Most High God needs you to operate, he chose to instead beg for mercy. Now, the scriptures tell us that, hey, the mercy window is only so long. Christianity would tell you, hey, you got mercy forever. Well, let's see how forever is once that sky cracks open and you see fire raining down and you on fire and you're like, and you can feel the pain. Let's see how everlasting that mercy is, right? Everybody has a window on their mercy, right? Job's children's window was gone. It was closed up shut, boarded up. The Lord put nails on it. He put hurricane shutters on top of it. The Lord made sure that window was gone. And instead of Job setting the standard and being like, look, getting the whole church here, I think my children is in sin. Didn't he say he thought his children was in sin? So if he thought his children was in sin, why would he not do this? Let's go to Deuteronomy 13 and verse 6. And hey, this is in our Ezra plan. Deuteronomy chapter 13 and verse 6.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 13 and verse 6. If thy brother, the son of thy mother, or the son, or thy son, or thy daughter, or the wife of thy bosom, or thy friend, which is as thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers.
Verse 8.
Verse 8. Thou shalt not consent Thou shalt not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him, neither shall thine eye pity him.
No. Give sacrifices.
Neither shall thine eye pity him.
Beg for mercy.
Neither shall thine eye pity him.
Read.
Neither shalt thou spare, neither shalt thou conceal him.
All right. So what did Job need to do? Verse 9.
Verse 9. But thou shalt surely kill him. Thine hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. Now,
did Job do that? Did Job gather all the people and tell all the people, hey, I think my children is in wickedness. Let's go ahead and judge this matter. Let's search it out. Did a trial take place? Did all the brothers come and seek out the matter and was like, you know what? Yeah, they're in sin. We got to stone them. Job, here you go, man. That's for you. Did that happen? No, right? What did Job do instead? Job pitied them. Did he not? God literally said, neither shall thine eye pity him. So now when we go back to Job 1, right? I said we're going to be doing a lot of flipping. And we go back to Job 1, right? And Christ said, doth Job fear God for naught? Now it makes sense. Why did Christ think this? Because he's like, is this nigga doing all this for no reason? Why is this guy with the fringes on? Why is he keeping the Sabbath? Why is he keeping the Passover? And his children is getting freaky in the house. What is going on? So now you see why Christ is upset. Now you see why Christ was with the council of the prophets, with the council of the children of God, and Satan came. He was just there like, damn, this nigga was on some BS last night, wasn't he? Man, how do I know this is true? Because when we go back to that Job 1, right? And verse 5 is Job trying to ask reconciliation for his children, right? What happened in verse 6? Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and what? And Satan came. So right after Job's children was in sin, and Job's children was, doing all kinds of things. I don't know exactly what they was doing. I know they was in sin, right? Now all of a sudden, the bibbity bobbity boo boogeyman with the pitchfork comes out and is right next to Christ. No, now all of a sudden, Jesus Christ is like, should I just kill this nigga? Should I just kill him? Because he is wasting my time right now. Why is he offering these sacrifices when in the book of Isaiah chapter 1, I said, I'm full off the blood of bulls and goats. Did Christ not say that? Didn't he say I was full off those sacrifices? Why is this nigga still sacrificing? Why is he not getting them kids and whooping their ass, putting them in line? Why did Christ give Abraham the promise? He said, for I know Abraham and that he will teach his children. to keep these commandments. That's why he gave the promise to Abraham, because he knew Abraham would get his kids right. And if Abraham's kids is right, their kids' kids is going to be right. And it's going to be a cycle of godliness. That's why we have the lineage of God. That's why we have the sons of God. That's why there's more than just one son of God. That's why God has children, because God chose the righteous to populate, right? So when we go back to that Job 1 and we see that Satan came to the Lord, we now understand that this Satan came to the Lord because Job did not exercise judgment. Instead of judgment, Job gave mercy when he was supposed to remove the evil from his congregation, right? Let's jump down now to verse 9 in Job 1.
This is Job chapter 1 and verse 9. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught?
Read.
Hast not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about half that he have, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land.
Okay, so again, hey, Jesus was thinking like, did I not make things easy for this nigga? Did I not, go ahead and increase his hands because he just did so good and he was listening to me? Yeah, I did do that, didn't I? Right? Verse 11.
Verse 11. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face.
But if I take everything away from this Negro, I know he's going to curse me. Because look at his children. Look at how evil these children are. They're cursing me to my face right now, thinking that they're doing things in secret. Do they not know that my eyes run to and fro around the earth, seeking who is righteous, who is perfect? Well, I can clearly see his children is in sin right now. And Job is enabling that sin. He's enabling that wickedness. Maybe it's because I made things too good for him, right? Because I bet if I take everything away from him, he's going to curse me. But remember, I said Satan is anything that's against the word, right? Didn't Job's wife tell Job to curse God? And Job said, you sound like a foolish woman. He said, you dumb, and you could finish the rest, right? So that thought that Christ had where he was like, if I take everything away from him, he's going to curse me. That thought was Satan, because literally in the word, in the scriptures, Job did not curse God. This thought that Christ had of Job being Satan, I said Job being Satan. This thought that Christ had being Satan towards Job happened because Job was in sin. And Job been perfect for who knows how long Job been doing his thing, right? And it's just like if you have that one kid that's just the model student, it's the best kid, and he finally does something retarded. You're gonna be like, damn, wasn't this the smart one? Isn't that what you're going to be like, Brother Quell? Aren't you going to be like, man, wasn't you the smart one? Yeah. He was supposed to be different, man. What the hell? You doing the same things that Adam's descendants was doing. That made me flood the earth. You're doing the same thing, man. So he's having those thoughts, right? And that's why those thoughts were Satan, because at the end of the day, Job's character was predestined. Job was predestined to be that righteous man. And Christ knew this, right? But at the end of the day, Christ still had to experience all of these things, right? It's just like, it's just like what I told my wife. I was like, look, if you go to university to be a mechanical engineer, you go to a university 10 years, you're a mechanical engineer, right? You've been in school for 10 years to be an engineer. You got the highest level of education you can get in that field. They take you, you go to a Toyota plant, and they give you a torque wrench, and they're like, all right, bro, put that engine together. Are you going to be able to know how to put that engine together? I mean, but you had 10 years of experience, though. You had 10 years being in the university. But it's different when you're on the job. That's what God is doing for Christ. You see, one thing that we forget is that Christ is not on the God seat yet. Unless I'm tripping. Am I tripping, Brother Quell? Because that's why Christ doesn't know exactly when the end is going to come. He doesn't know when it's going to come. He might know what it looks like because the end was declared from the beginning. So Christ might have went through the university for 20 years, but Christ never was on the job. Now God was like, okay, I need you to be on the job now. Go ahead, do this. Create the lights, create the firmament, do this, create the waters, put animals in those waters. This is how I want the animals to be. Create the people, create them this way, right? Now Christ is actually doing the work. God's like, you know what? Now go live with the animals. Go ahead, live with them. I want you to see how they are. I told you what they were going to be like. I want you to experience it now. So even though Jesus Christ knows these things, even though he knows Job is a righteous man, Christ is still hurt. He's like, dang, what the hell? I knew you wasn't going to, be bold and rebuke your children, but I can't believe I'm seeing it though. Is that making sense to everybody? Like, put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. Put a 2 in the chat if you're like, Brother Donnie, you going crazy. Jesus Christ can never have a bad thought. I don't know what you're talking about. Jesus Christ can never have a bad thought, right? Put a 2 in the chat, or put a 1 if you understand, right? Because Christ right now is actually going through the job, right? He went through the university, 20 years, got the highest score. Now God is like, okay, I need to see if your academics translate to real life. Let's go ahead and put you in the actual workforce, right? Right. Let's go and get let's get Matthew 4, because before we move on, I want you guys to really understand that Satan is a thought that Christ had that was against the prophecy, that was against what was predestined. Because if Christ really thought Job was nothing at that time, when he was communing with himself, when he was talking to himself, that's what that Satan is. He's talking to himself. He's having that conversation. If he was to be like, you know what, man, I'm right, man. This nigga right here, he on that BS, man. Let me just kill him, right? That would go against what was predestined, right? Because the Most High God told Christ, these are the people that is predestined. These are the people that you will see at the end. These are the people that will be a part of your government, right? So if Christ is thinking like, you know what, let me kill this guy, well, hey, that means Christ is having a thought that's against what's prophesied, just like what happened in the wilderness, right? Moses went up that mountain. He was talking to Christ, and then Christ was like, hey, man, hey, you better go get them because they on some BS down there, right? You better go get them. Moses went down. He said, what the hell? Y'all worshiping Moloch? Right? And he broke the tablets, right? He's like, man, you dumb Negroes. Did you not just see what the Most High God can do? And you dancing around a bull made of gold? And then what did Christ said when Moses went back up that mount? He was like, hey, man, I'm just going to start with you, man. We just going to start it with you. Because all them other guys right there, they got to go, right? Again, this is showing that even Jesus Christ, the greatest man to ever live, can have a bad thought. And this is what makes Jesus Christ the greatest man to ever live. It's not because Jesus Christ never had a bad thought. It's not because Jesus Christ never been tempted. No, it's because Jesus Christ has been given the same mind that we have, but he overcame it. That's why he has the key to the bottomless pit. Just like what Brother Xavier told me, right? That's why he's the key, because Jesus Christ is the only man that can overcome the mind. Why you think Esau loves the mind so much? Why they study the mind? Why they try to see where your memories go? Because that's what the spirit is. That's the spiritual. You don't have a mind and a soul. Your soul is your mind. If we did a Freaky Friday and my mind went into Brother Quells and Brother Quells' mind went into me, we'd be completely different people. I'm no longer Brother Donnie. I'm going to talk different. My demeanor is going to be different. I might end up standing like I'm 6'2", right? That's because our souls have been swapped. Your soul is your mind, right? That's your character, right? And Christ he was able to overcome all of that, right? Christ's will is unbreakable. Nothing can take Christ off his square. Christ felt the same things we felt and never acted on them. That's more powerful than if Christ never felt a wicked thought ever. That's more powerful. Just like when he came in the flesh and did all the things that we did in the flesh, but still never sinned, that makes him more powerful. Christ is showing us, look, I know exactly what is going on in your head because I have the same thing too. So this is how you overcome it, by the character that my dad put inside of me when he said, let there be light. By the character that was developed when I went through that Most High God's university. And the Most High took me under his wing so I could be just like him. That's why I'm going to be in the God seat. Because only me, has the will to overcome the minds that's been given to all of y'all. And that's why when he created everything, he said, dang, the hearts of men is evil continually. Because, hey, the mind is the devil. Like I said, Matthew 4 and verse 1.
This is Matthew chapter 4 and verse 1. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil.
Okay, so hey, Jesus was led up with the Spirit. Again, we got to take the mysticism out, right? Because when we get into the mysticism, we start floating away like a hot air balloon, and we're no longer on the ground, right? We need to stay grounded, okay? So it said the Spirit, right? We know the Spirit isn't a ghost, right? The Spirit is the direction from God. It's the commandments, right? That's what the Spirit is, right? Romans 7, right? The law is spiritual, okay? So Jesus was led by the commandment of God to go into the wilderness so he could be tempted by the devil. And now again, this devil is not right? It's not that guy on your right shoulder, stabbing you in your neck. That's not what I guess technically it is, because yeah, that guy on your right shoulder, that's actually you right there, right? Like in the cartoons, how when you have the angel and the devil, don't the angel and the devil look like the person thinking? It looks like the person thinking, but with wings, and then the person on the other end that's red with a pitchfork, right? So this is the devil that Christ got tempted with, right? Let's get verse 2. In chapter 4 of Matthew.
This is Matthew chapter 4 and verse 2. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered.
Okay, so hey, I don't know about y'all, but I can't do that. 40 days, 40 nights. If the Lord said Day of Atonement was 40 days and 40 nights, I'll do it. But hey, Brother Donnie would not be alive. I'll tell you that. Hey, I'll do it, and hey, maybe I'll be like Ezra. Maybe I'll start actually seeing visions of the end, and I'm like, oh man. No, I'm playing with you, but at the end of the day, right? It said Christ fasted for 40 days, 40 nights. Day of Atonement is one day, right? Is one whole day. Christ did 40, right? Let's put that in perspective. So it wasn't Christ was hungered. Christ was starving. It wasn't Christ was hungry. No, he was starving. Christ was, man, let you have walked by smelling like a rotisserie chicken. Hey, you might have been up. You know what I'm saying? He was hungered, right? Verse 3. What happened as soon as he got hungry? Verse 3.
Verse 3. And when the tempter came.
And when who?
The tempter came to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. Okay. So hey, he was getting hungry. Now all of a sudden, Christ is hungry. The devil came. Oh, he's here now, right? You know why the devil came? Because Christ was in a weak position. Christ was weak. He's physically weak. Mentally, he's weak too. Because I don't know about y'all, I can't think straight when I'm hungry. That's why that Snickers commercial, you not you when you hungry. Yeah, Christ wasn't himself when he got hungry. Because guess what? Guess what Christ did? Let's get well, actually, it said in verse 3, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. Hey, Christ wasn't himself.
He knew he couldn't eat at the time, but he's like, man, if I'm really him, I could just turn these rocks into bread right now and eat. Right? What did Christ say? Verse 4?
Verse 4. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God.
Okay. And so that's why we have to have these scriptures, right? Be sober, be vigilant, right? That's why we have to be prudent as well, right? Proverbs 18 and 14, right? That's why we have to study to show thyself approved, right? So that you can be an acceptable workman of God, right? If you don't do these things, if you don't prepare your heart, like in Ezra 7, then guess what? When that devil comes, when that tempter comes, how are you going to say it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, when in your mind you're like, it is written, damn, I forgot, I'm hungry. How are you going to battle the devil? Right? We're not going to go into this whole chapter, but the devil took him to the mountain and was like, man, look at all this right here, right? The devil, he took himself to the mountain and was like, damn, I don't have to get tortured. I have every power in my being to just wipe everybody out that's trying to torture me and just, do the prophecy my way. That was the thought. I don't have to suffer. I could just do the shit my way. Why would I have to go down and these Negroes are ungrateful. Why do I got to do this? Wait, no. It's written. Yeah. What did God say? Yeah, he said I can't do that. Yep. Okay. Man, I could just jump off this and no. It is written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord, right? So Christ is doing what he's telling us to do. That's why he is the greatest boss, because Christ gave us rules and he's abiding by them same rules, right? Whenever we at work and we see the manager and the manager is like, you guys got to do this. You guys got to clean up and do this. And we look at the manager and he don't do ish all day. Do we respect him? No. We're like, man, F that Negro right there, man. He don't know what he's talking about. He don't know what it's like. That's literally what we would say. He don't know what it's like. That's what we could say to Christ. Man, you don't know what it's like. Christ, but you don't know these thoughts, how powerful they are. Christ is like, Negro, I do. I have the same mind, the same tempter, the same Satan, because that is your mind. That's why Christ said the hearts of men is evil continually. Now, like I said earlier in the class, we call Satan the great deceiver, right? Again, I was never a Christian, so, I don't know if that's what they say for real, but from what I heard growing up, I heard that Satan is the great deceiver. Y'all could tell me if I'm wrong, like, Brother Donnie, he was called something else, But from what I heard he was the great deceiver, right? That's what I always heard, right? Let's get Jeremiah 17 and verse 9. And some of y'all already might know where I'm going with this, because it said Satan was the great deceiver, right? He is the great deceiver. He's the one that lies, right? Let's get that Jeremiah 17 and 9.
This is Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things.
The what?
The heart is deceitful above all things.
The red man with the pitchfork.
The heart is deceitful above all things.
Read.
And desperately wicked.
Nah, just a little bit wicked.
And desperately wicked.
Notice how it said desperately. And if I'm desperate for something, it's going to happen. I'm telling you right, if I'm desperate, it's going to happen. Like how we desperate for salvation, how we making sure that's going to happen. Hey, if I'm desperate for water, let's say for some reason I'm walking to Elder Rick's house for the Sabbath. I don't know why, but let's say I'm walking there. It's hot. It's 90 degrees out. I'm coming in there desperate for water. I'm going to be, hey, Elder Rick, please. Hey, I need some water, man. I'm about to pass out, right? I'm desperate for water, right? If you've been at work and you, for some reason, you have a bathroom break, it was like this when I worked on the beach, and you can't just go use the bathroom right away, right? When you get that bathroom break, you are desperate to use the bathroom. I'm doing the hoppy dance and everything. I'm running to the toilet, man. I can't wait to pee, right? You're desperate, right? So it said that the heart is desperately wicked. So meaning your heart is gonna think of all kinds of maneuvers and counters and blocks and redirections to get you to sin, because your heart, your mind cares about your body. Your body does not care about God. Let's get Romans 9, because I said it's your mind, right? Let's get Romans 9 and hold up. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Romans 8, my bad. No, you can go. Yeah.
Yeah, shalom, Israel. Sorry. Hey, my brother's cooking right now, but I gotta jump in on this. I was gonna stay quiet for the whole class, but sorry, I wasn't allowed to. I want to get to Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 22. I want to read this really quick. As he's going into our hearts and our minds being desperately wicked, and he's talking about how Satan is a great deceiver and all of these things, right? And I'm hoping I'm not stepping on toes.
No. This is a good script.
Aye. Okay. Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 22. For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. Now, this scripture is explaining how the Lord is really saying we are all giving in to what is desperately wicked. We are, and how he was saying, hey, if I'm desperate for some water, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to think of all the counters. I'm going to find all the reasons. I'm going to get in that house. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. The same thing when we're referring to how if we really want to keep these laws, we're going to find a way. We're going to do the things that God tells us to do. Remove the wicked people. Remove us from the places that can actually get us in trouble. Not watch the TV shows that can affect us, because evil communications corrupt good manners. These are all the things you do when you are desperate to get somewhere. You're going to position yourself with the wisest people in the scriptures on the planet, which is also why I believe a lot of people are desperately wicked. They look for people that can condone their foolish behaviors and find a camp that goes along with what they do, instead of actually finding something that goes along with Christ. When you're desperately righteous, you're going to find the closest thing to Jesus and connect to it. You're going to ride with it till the wheels fall off. See, this is being desperately righteous. So being desperately wicked, as he said, when you go into this scripture, the Lord says, my people have no knowledge and have no knowledge to do the right thing. Why? Because they're desperately evil. They want to do what makes them happy, what pleases them, but they don't want to do what actually is going to make them successful in the endeavors of the Lord Jesus Christ. So I love what he's going into, how he's explaining this, because this is actually true. Whatever you truly desire to do, you're going to accomplish. If you're desperately righteous, you're going to fight that desperately wicked demon. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a fight to the finish. As it says in 2 Ezra 7, this is the condition of the battle. Every man must fight. Now, the ones that don't fight, they get ran over. They get stomped on. They're the ones that get walked over, like the children of Israel get laid down in Isaiah 56 or 57. One of them. I'll find it one day. Anyways, 59, I believe. Anyways, they're the ones that get walked over. And when we get walked over, then there's nothing we can do. We can't overcome. And when you can't overcome, then you're one of those people, he says, that suffers because you give in to the deceiver. The deceiver will catch you at a bad time, just like he just now explained Christ. And I love that Matthew 4. Christ he wasn't just, it says hungry, but it didn't really explain. He was starving, like you said. I think scientifically, 40 days is the max you can go for fasting. You actually will die if you exceed that. So he's at the point of starvation. And the Lord came and well, his mind came at his lowest point. All of us is going to catch us at our weakest point. So we got to always be aware of that and know that our heart is desperately wicked. Just like it's so desperately wicked that it's going to attack us when we're vulnerable. So desperately wicked that, as it says, Satan left and came back after a season. So I just want to keep that in mind. Hopefully I ain't keep it too long. Y'all back up.
Yeah, no, I'll praise to the Most High, because at Jeremiah 4:22, hey, that's a good scripture, because it said that in Jeremiah 17:9, it said that the heart is desperately wicked. And in Jeremiah 4:22, he says that our people are experts at being evil, meaning our people are experts at being worldly, living by our desires, right? And I mean, you can see it just even now, like we're literally the greatest at everything. And I mean everything very literally, you know what I'm saying? We are the greatest fornicators. Look at Diddy. You know what I'm saying? We the greatest everything. You know what I'm saying? So we the greatest murderers. We're the greatest liars. You know, and that is because we are just so good at everything. When we put our minds to evil, we bring forth great evil, right? And like I said, I like how it also says they have not known me, because that is going into this right now. They have not known me, right? Because their mind is focused on the flesh, like what I said earlier, right? Let's get Romans 8 and verse 5. Romans 8 and verse 5. Yep. No, you good.
This is Romans chapter 8 and verse 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit.
Okay, what does that sound like? That sounds like people barbecuing right now and we are not cooking. What does that sound like? That sounds like people at the mall right now, at Mall St. Matthews, buying clothes, buying food, and we're here right now buying into the Word of God, right? That's what that looks like. If we mind the things after the flesh, we're going to do fleshly things. If we mind after the Spirit, we're going to mind after the commandments, after the will of God, right? And notice how it said mind, right? Mind. Verse 6.
Verse 6. For to be carnally minded is death.
No, that's life.
But for to be carnally minded is death.
Read.
But to be spiritually minded is life and peace.
Verse 7.
Verse 7. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be.
Okay. Just like Satan. Just like the great deceiver, the guy with the pitchfork, right? He can't be under the subjection to the law of God, right? Because he's out here trying to get people to sin. Well, yeah, that's your mind. That's not no celestial being or anything. That's your mind, right? That's why it says, for to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life. To be focused on the things that your body desires is going to lead you to damnation, right? To be focused on the things that God wants you to do is different. It says because the carnal mind is enmity against God, right? Didn't we just read in Jeremiah 17 that the heart is desperately wicked? Didn't we not read in Jeremiah 4 and 22 that our people don't have no knowledge to do good? Did we not read that they have not known God? That's why. They have not known God because they've been knowing the devil, which is their mind, right? Let me get this definition real quick. Carnal, because I'm saying carnal. You know, I'm throwing that word a lot. And it says the carnal mind is enmity. To have enmity, the word enmity means against, adversary, right? So it's saying the carnal mind or the fleshly mind or human nature. Isn't that what the heathen be saying? They're like, oh, that's not fornication. That's human nature. That's what that is. That's human nature, brother. But there's nothing wrong with you, brother. That's you. We're brothers in Christ, right? Because Christ understands human nature. Well, they're half right. Because Christ does understand human nature, but he's not going to understand you going ahead and choosing that over himself. He's going to be like, that don't make sense. Because that's not wise. What makes sense is choosing me over the human nature. But you know what? I understand why you do that, because you're not predestined. And that's the only way he'll understand. If he didn't select you, if the Most High didn't have him in the classroom and was showing him the syllabus, it was like, okay, so Adam, yeah, that's him. And then Seth, okay, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, yeah, them niggas right there. That's who's the predestined, right? So if he doesn't understand why you not understanding, it's because you wasn't there in that meeting when God was talking about the predestined. That's why, right? The carnal mind is enmity against God. To be carnal is to be fleshly. It's to be in human nature. It can denote as sensual as well, right? Sensual. What do we read in Jude? These are they that separate themselves. Sensual, not having the Spirit. Because if you don't have the Spirit of God, you're not going to be willing to be in that uncomfortable situation where you're having an uncomfortable conversation with somebody that's for your growth, that's for your betterment. If you're sensual, you're going to be like, I don't like how this feels. I'm going to leave. That's what happens, right? You don't think Christ was like, dang, I don't like how my stomach feels. Oh, I can see my ribs. You don't think Christ was like that? But he didn't turn those stones into bread. He waited on the Father's commandment because he was commanded by the Spirit to go into the wilderness and be tempted, right? So let's go all the way back now. Like I said, we're flipping. Hopefully you guys are staying with me. If this is making sense, for the one in the chat, I know Sister Victoria said that it's kind of making sense. Is it making better sense for you now, sis? With me going into Matthew 4 and Romans 8, is that making sense as to why Satan is your mind, why Satan is the mind? And it's not just your mind. Hey, Brother Sean has Satan. All of us have Satan. That's why it is a spiritual warfare, because we are constantly fighting the devil. And that actually goes with a question that Sister Victoria said last week, because when the elder was teaching, she said, like, how do you stop bad thoughts from coming? It was a question along those lines. You don't. They gonna keep coming, because guess what? You are in the mind, right? God placed you in the devil's domain. And he did that on purpose because he wants to see, are you going to do what you want to do, or are you going to do what I want you to do? And that also lets us know that we are all evil. What do I mean by that? Brother Donnie, I got the fringes on. What are you talking about? I'm not going to the lake. I rebuke you. Hey, that's fine. That's fine, right? I'm not delusional, right? We are all inherently evil. So if we all know that the hearts of men is evil from youth, if we know that the heart is desperately wicked, if we know that the carnal mind is enmity to God, what does that say about us? That's saying we are all predispositioned to sin. That is what that is saying. That's why Christ said there is none good but God. He's like, nigga, don't say I'm good. The only reason y'all are not dead is because in the university, God was like, make sure to don't kill these niggas when you go on the job. I know you're gonna be angry. I know you're gonna want to wipe these niggas out, but don't kill them when you get on the job. I need these niggas alive for when I give you the God seat. That's why Christ is like, there is none good but God. Bro, don't say that to me, because I've only overcame because of the character that God gave me, right? And it's just like what Brother Xavier said, Matthew 24:13, endure ourselves, right? Matthew 24:16 also says that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Your mind is going to be weak. Christ's flesh was weak when he was in that wilderness looking at them stones. He was like, damn, these stones look like, what is it? Artesian bread? These stones look like top tier bread right now, right? So we have to understand that we all aren't ish, right? We all are not, we're nothing, right? That's why the prophet's been trying to tell us we are nothing but clay. We are nothing but earth and ashes. We all aren't ish. We are only something today because we chose to follow God, right? We chose to battle Satan. That's the only reason, right? And with Job, let's go to Job chapter 1 and verse 16 now, right? Yep. Job 1 and 16, because now that we have a better understanding, it seems like everybody is understanding so far that, hey, this Satan is a thought that comes from your mind that is going to be against God, because the carnal mind can't be subject to the laws of God, right? So that's why Satan is anything against God, right? So we know Christ had a thought that was against himself. He had a thought that was against himself. Just like I might have a thought, to go ahead and fornicate. That's against myself. Because I'm setting myself up for failure. Just like if I see somebody in sin and I don't say nothing, I just let them ride and chill. Hey, my mama was breaking the Sabbath. My mama was breaking the Sabbath in our house. And I shared a house with Brother Sean and Brother Xavier. So how am I going to look if I'm letting, I'm taking a shower, Brother Karis is like, hey, he sounded the trumpet. He like, hey, Brother Donnie, hey, your mama was cooking and I told her it's the Sabbath and she didn't care, right? So how would I look like if I'm like, that's my mama though, and I just keep taking a shower and I get ready and we go to Sabbath, right? I was like, nah, and actually I didn't come that Sabbath, right? Because it was a whole thing. But I say that to say it shouldn't, literally nobody. Why do you think Deuteronomy 13 says the son of thy bosom? He could have came from your balls. It don't matter. If he is against me, he got to go, right? And that's what had to happen. My mama didn't want to listen to counsel. She didn't want to be reasoned with. So I'm like, well, shoot, I can't make this work. So I chose God over my mama. Just like Job was supposed to choose God over his children. Now, I'm not saying this to say that, oh, look, Job made a mistake. Job, we all thought Job was righteous. No, that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because God wants us to understand the story of Job better. He wants us to understand the story of Job as a man that sinned by coddling the sin around him. That's what the story of Job should tell you. Nothing should take you away from God. That's what the story of Job should tell you. Because he allowed his kids to pervert judgment. That's what Job allowed. And look at all the turmoil it brought Job. To a point where Job was in denial. Job thought God was wrong. And we're going to get into that too, right? Because I want you guys to thoroughly understand. If you can't understand anything in this lesson, I want you to at least just understand that Job was wrong. And that's why God did what he did. God wasn't just there sitting with the celestial beings floating in the sky, just like, And then Satan just came, the great adversary, and it started thundering, and the sky got black. That's not what happened, okay? Christ was talking to the prophets. He was talking to the people that was predestined, and he had a thought thinking about Job because of everything he's been seeing, right? So let's get verse 16 in chapter 1.
This is Job chapter 1 and verse 16. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven and have burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Okay. And this is like, we all know this in the truth, right? This is nothing new, right? At least what we're seeing right here. We all notice, Christ told Satan, okay, you could go ahead and afflict Job, but don't kill him, right? That was Christ telling himself that. All right, I'm going to afflict him, but I can't kill him because God told me he's predestined. So I can't kill him, but I'm going to do this because I need to make sure, I just need to make sure that he's really him, right? So it said, Job was talking, his servants like, hey, the Sabians came and took your servants away. Hey, your house fell. Hey, this came. So while all this was going, his servant came while he was yet speaking. So while yet someone else was talking, hey, Job, hey, a fire from God. And that's another clue. How can Satan cause fire to rain down from sky like the Most High? That says fire from God, right? So even they knew like, oh, that had to be God right there. Ain't no way. Ain't no way that was anybody but God. Because you saw that? I thought I was going through Sodom and Gomorrah again, right? Verse 17.
Verse 17, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Okay, so hey, the fire came down. He's like, hey, man, hey, a fire came down and just wiped out all the sheep, all the cattle. I was like, damn, what the hell? Hey, man, what the hell? What you doing here? Hey, I just wanted you to know that the Chaldeans came with 3,000 and man, they slain the camels, took the servants, man, they took all that, right? Verse 18.
Verse 18, while he was yet speaking,
So while he was still hearing, like, peep how fast this is all coming to him. Like, it's boom, suddenly, affliction, right? Read.
while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house.
Okay, so hey, now they're all in one spot, right? They're all in one spot, eating and drinking wine with the eldest brothers, right? That's interesting, because in verse 5, if we really do understand that, okay, they were doing something in lasciviousness, right? They was acting according to the lust of the flesh, because 2 Peter 4:4 says, excessive wine and banqueting, isn't that excessive, them doing that almost every day for the week? That's excessive, isn't it? And now they're all together in one spot. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like, the painting, who did the Finger of God painting? Michelangelo? I think so. I don't know. One of them niggas, right? It's like that painting where we just see a bunch of naked men and women, and they're all just by each other and they're all happy, right? That's what I think of when am I wrong? I mean, that's what I think of. I think of a Diddy party, right? What you think Diddy was doing? Like, Diddy was getting them in the party, and what was he offering them? Drinks, right? Drugs, right? So they can be out their minds, so they could be more susceptible to do foolishness, because we are all inherently evil. We have to accept that, right? So when we accept that, now we're like, okay, so while he was yet speaking, his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. Get verse 19 for us, Brother Quell.
Say it again.
Verse 19.
Verse 19.
Yep.
Verse 19, and behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the four corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. Young men, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Okay, so hey, we're about to get into scary territory, because this is when it got scary for me. When I was realizing this, I was like, oh snap, that's what was going on. Oh snap, like, and I didn't know that Christ was talking about this incident. But like I said, we're gonna keep going. Let's go to Job 4:2. So it said that, hey, a great wind came from the wilderness, smote the house, right? And the house fell upon them. What does that sound like? It was either a hurricane or a tornado. It was probably a tornado. So, because it sounded like that wind killed it instantly, right? So it sounded like the Lord had an F5 tornado come and wipe them out suddenly while they were in their wickedness, while they were partying, drinking. Who knows what they was doing? They doing that almost every day of the week. So they thought they must have been good, right? They must have thought they was straight. And then all of a sudden, yeah, Finger of God painting. And then boom, the Diddy party's over, right? Let's get Job chapter 4 and verse 2.
This is Job chapter 4 and verse 2. If we essay to commune with thee, wilt thou be grieved? But who can withhold himself from speaking?
Okay, so he's like, hey, if we ask to talk to you, are you gonna be like upset? Are you gonna be sad? This is like when we try to correct somebody that's wrong, and the Lord is afflicting them, and we just feel like we need to speak, right? We're just like, damn, man, like the Lord's doing all this to you, bruh. It's because you haven't been doing what we've been telling you. It's because you haven't, and that's what's going on right here. Get verse 3.
Verse 3. Behold, thou hast instructed many, and thou hast strengthened the weak hands.
Read.
Thy words have upholden him that was falling, and thou hast strengthened the feeble knees.
Okay, so he's like, hey man, like, look, you've taught many brothers. You taught them well. You brought them up in the way. That's like Elder Rick. Hey, Elder Rick taught many brothers, right? Brought them up in the way, instructed many. Many has fallen, and he's allowed them to rise back up, right? Now it said, oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Get verse 4.
Verse 4. Thy words have upholden him that was falling, and thou hast strengthened the feeble knees. But now it is come upon thee.
So now you have fallen. Now you are afflicted because you fell. Read.
And thou faintest.
And you give up. You're like, man, Lord, kill me. Lord, why did you even make me be alive in the first place if I'm going to be born just to this affliction? Just kill me, Lord. His friend is like, man, tighten up. Like, this is happening because you fell, right? Proverbs 24:16. It said, but now it is upon thee, and thou faintest. So that has to imply that Job is fallen right now, right? That is what that would have to imply. He's like, hey, you've helped people that have fallen. Now you've fallen, right? Proverbs 24:16. A just man falleth 7 times, but riseth up again, right? So Job has helped many just men falling, and he allowed them to rise up again. But it said the wicked shall fall into mischief, right? The wicked. Job is choosing to fall into mischief than to rise up, than to be like, you know what? I was wrong not correcting my children. I did think my children sinned. That's why the Lord did that. He's not thinking that. He's not thinking like, man, my children was sinning. That's why that happened. No, Job is thinking, why is the Lord doing this to me? I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. That's what he's thinking. How do I know this is true? Let's get verse 12.
Verse 12. Now a thing was secretly brought to me, and mine ear received a little thereof.
Okay, so now Eliphaz is saying, look, I've heard this rumor, right? Verse 13.
Verse 13. And thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth on men.
Okay, so again, you know, this isn't really too spiritual. He's just saying he fell asleep. He's saying in the thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth of men. He's saying, look, I had a dream when it was time for us to all go to sleep. I had a dream, right? Verse 14.
Verse 14. Fear came upon me, and trembling which made all my bones to shake.
Okay, so now he's like, man, I had this dream, and I was terrified. I was terrified so much that I was shaking, like in Scooby-Doo, where it's and they're shaking like that, and it's making a sound. That's what was happening to Eliphaz, right? Get verse 15.
Verse 15. Then the spirit passed before my face. The hair of my flesh stood up.
Now this is a ghost. Now this is an actual ghost, right? This is a real spirit. This is a real, celestial being, right? Eliphaz was asleep, and then, he was like, what the hell? Is that the Ghostbusters? Right? He's scared. He's like, what the hell is that? It said his hair stood up. He was like a cat, terrified, right? So now he's seeing a ghost. Now he's like, what the hell is this ghost? Right? Verse 16.
Verse 16. It stood still, but I could not discern the form thereof. An image was before mine eyes. There was silence, and I heard a voice saying,
okay, so at first, he's trying to make, at first he was scared. He was like, what the hell? And now he's trying to examine, like, what the hell is this spirit? Who is this spirit right here? But it said he couldn't see the face. He's like, man, I don't know who that is, right? But now the voice is speaking. This spirit spoke. What did this spirit say? And mind you, Eliphaz is telling Job this dream because Eliphaz is trying to give Job counsel. This is why he was trying to tell Job that dream. Verse 17.
Verse 17. Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker?
Okay. So in verse 16, Eliphaz seen the spirit, right? And then the spirit spake. And in verse 17, the spirit says, shall a mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker? Why is Christ thinking this? Doth Job serve God for naught? That's why Christ is thinking this. Now it's coming together. Christ was thinking this because he's like, why does nigga think he's right? Why does he think that I'm just doing this for no reason? Why does he think he wasn't wrong for not putting his children under the commandment? Which was really, I'm not going to say they were supposed to get stoned off rip. There's supposed to be a trial out of the hand of 2 or 3 witnesses. Shall every man be put to death? A trial was supposed to take place. None of that happened, right? So Christ is like, how does he think he's right in this situation when I took his children away, right? How do we know this is Christ speaking still? How do we know this is talking about his children? This is where it gets scary. Let's go to chapter 5 and verse 1. This is still Christ speaking in the vision that Eliphaz had when he was asleep.
This is Job chapter 5 and verse 1. Call now, if there be any that will answer thee, and to which of the saints wilt thou turn?
Read.
For wrath killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one. I have seen the foolish taking root, but suddenly I cursed his habitation.
Okay, hold on. He said he's seen the foolish taking root, but suddenly he cursed his habitation. All that stuff that happened to Job, was it like all at once, or was it like spread out that the Lord kind of give him like, I'm going to afflict you this month, and 2 months from now I'm going to afflict you with this one? Is that what happened?
Back to back with it.
It was back to back, right? Didn't Christ say suddenly he cursed his habitation? Now he said he's seen the foolish taking root. What is this foolish that he's seen taking root? He's seen his children taking root in that wickedness. He's like, what the hell are these? What are they doing? What the hell? Right? How do I know this is talking about his children? Verse 4.
Verse 4. His children.
His what?
His children.
His ox.
His children
Read.
are far from safety.
They're close to safety.
Are far from safety.
Nah, they're right next to safety.
Far from safety.
Read.
And they are crushed. And they are crushed in the gate. Neither is there any to deliver them.
Because only one survived, and that was the one person to let Job know the Most High killed them niggas. Right? It said his children are far from safety and they are crushed. Did it say that they were burned? Did it say that they were smitten by the sword? They were crushed, right?
Crushed.
Now, when we go to chapter 1 and verse 19, it said, and behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men. Now, when I read that, I don't think of a house actually falling like a person. When I read that, I think of a house collapsing and killing the people inside. So when Eliphaz had this dream of Christ being angry, thinking like, why the hell does this nigga think he's better than me? Why does he think he knows more than me? His children are the reason why I'm doing this. His children are far from safety. They're far from safety. Let's go Leviticus 25 and 18. It said they're far from safety. If his children was in the secret place of the Most High, would they be crushed? No. His children would have survived if they were in the secret place of the Most High. Didn't David say he never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread? Right? So what is that saying about his children? Leviticus 25 in verse 18.
This is Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 18. Wherefore ye shall do my statutes and keep my judgments and do them, and ye shall dwell in the land in safety.
No, in peril.
In safety.
No, by a F5 tornado crushing you in your house.
In safety.
Okay. So if his children was far from safety, they were far from the commandments. That is what that means. Now, again, if you still think it's birthdays, I just want to let this be on the record. There is no single scripture that is going to say, thou shalt not celebrate a day to thyself. There is not a single scripture. Moses did not say that to us. Moses did not say, thou shalt not go to the strip club and throw 20s on some hoes. Moses did not say that, right? It's not a sin if you go to the strip club. But what is that going to lead to? Fornication, right? When you go to the strip club, you seeing booty, you seeing breasts jiggling, right? the The hearts of men is evil from youth. When I was a little nigga, man, I think we all know what I'm about to say, right? when I was a little man, I'm telling you, that's all we cared about, right? Who's the baddest teacher in the school? Miss Davis got that sundress on, bro. Hey, you saw Miss Davis with that sundress on, bro? Hey, that was cold, wasn't it? So that's why we don't go to the strip club, because I'm going to be like, Miss Davis, let me get some 20s out, right? And that could have never been my intention, right? But if I'm far from safety, because think about it, why would I go to the strip club if I keep the commandments, right? Because if I keep the commandments, well, I know it's commanded of me to not fornicate. So why would I go to the strip club looking at naked women that's going to put me in a position to fornicate, right? It's not because if I walk up in there, Christ is going to set me ablaze. No, he's going to let me do some dumb-ish first and then set me ablaze. That's what he's going to do, right? So when we go back to Job 5 and I believe 4, when we go back to Job 5 and 4, yeah, when we go back to Job 5 and 4, and it says his children are far from safety. Well, his children are far from safety because guess what? His children wasn't keeping the commandments. Now this is all going to make sense. Let's go to chapter 4 and let's go to verse 7. Remember, Eliphaz is still speaking. Let's see what Eliphaz was trying to tell Job.
This is Job chapter 4 and verse 7. Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or were the righteous cut off.
Now it makes sense why he was saying this. He's trying to tell Job, your kids were evil. Who were the righteous being forsaken? He's like, bruh, you know the scriptures. You instructed many. Now it's your time and you're fallen. Bro, you know what the scriptures say, right? When has the Most High killed somebody innocent? If your children were innocent, why did they die that way? Get verse 8.
Verse 8, even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same.
They was plowing iniquity and they was sowing wickedness. So what did his children reap? Destruction. His children reap destruction, right? And before I forget, I want to say all praise to the Most High for Brother Judah Monster. Hey, thank you for the $20 helping out the ministry. And Sister Victoria for the super stickers, sending $5. All praises to the Most High. You know, hey, that goes into, putting your brick in. You know, that goes into how bad do you really want to see the kingdom come? Because there's a reason why all these pastors out here are all corrupt. Why they all bring the connotation of if you preach the word, you just want to make money. Because, hey, the children of the devil, Esau, that's why they're the children of the devil, because the first thing on their mind they do. That's why God said they're dogs. If a dog wants to, man, you guys see dogs hump couches. So what does that tell you about a dog's decision making? There is no decision making. The dog's like, damn, that couch looks like Bertha. He's going to get on that couch. That's what's going to happen. That's why the heathen are the children of Satan, because they do anything on their mind. Bestiality, the Epstein files, we all know what they do, right? They facilitated Diddy for the Diddy parties. They gave Diddy the resources to do this, right? So when we think about this, right, we got to understand, okay, look, his children died because they weren't righteous. And you are afflicted because you was in sin, not putting away the evil. Just like what the elder said earlier when he was breaking down Jeremiah 4 and 22, making sure the evil is away from you. Job was not making sure the evil was away from him. That's why Eliphaz had that vision. And when he was asleep and he seen Christ, and Christ is like, man, what is wrong with this nigga? That's why he felt so compelled to speak to him. That's why he said, if we assuage to commune with thee, wilt thou be grieved? He's like, hey, if we ask to speak to you, like, why are you going to be upset? Because how can we just sit back and let you say that God is wrong? That is what his friends is doing. So now it should make a little bit more sense when you're reading the story of Job and you're like, why the hell is his friends on his ass? His friends is on his ass not because they was being evil, but because his friends actually loved him. Job had real friends, because Job's friends could have just let him just be off. They could have been like, yeah, we'll just let that nigga think that, his children wasn't on no freaky stuff. Right? But they're like, nah, like this is the man who instructed many. This is the man who upholding the feeble knees. It's our time now. It's our time now to pick him up. That's what the brothers was doing, right? Let's go into verse 6, because this is going to go into what I said. Job thinks that the Lord just afflicted him out of nowhere, right? Job thinks he was doing righteous, and the Lord just, boom, affliction, because the Lord was in the clouds and Satan came through the clouds and convinced God to do something different, convinced Christ to do something different, right? Let's get verse 6 in chapter 5. Yep.
This is Job chapter 5 and verse 6. Although affliction cometh not forth of the dust, neither doth trouble spring out of the ground.
Okay, so what does that mean? He is saying that, bruh, God's not going to afflict you out of thin air. Affliction is not just going to magically come and boom, it got your ass. No, that's not how it works. He's saying affliction cometh not forth of the dust. And actually, this is Christ speaking, excuse me, because this is verse 5, right? So Christ is still speaking through that dream that Eliphaz is having through the night. So after Christ said that his children was far from safety, that's why I killed them, he's saying affliction cometh not forth of the dust. That's like saying, we all heard that saying, problems don't come out of nowhere, or you know what I'm saying? Like that is what Christ is trying to say. I can't illustrate that better for y'all. So hopefully y'all understand what I'm saying, right? Christ is trying to let him know, like, hey, trouble doesn't just appear. There's a cause and effect for everything. There's a cause and effect. So our original understanding of the story of Job is that Christ just afflicted Job to test him, just to go ahead and test him, right? That's half true, because Christ was testing Job, but it didn't just come because Job was righteous and Satan was like, you think that nigga's really solid? No, that happened because Job was in sin, allowing his children to sin, knowing his children was in sin, because remember, he said it may have been that they sinned. He knew his children was in sin and didn't set the standard against them. So now trouble came and is afflicting Job. It didn't just pop out of nowhere, right? It's because Job wasn't following the standard. That's why Christ is so upset. That's why he's like, shall a mortal man be more just than God? Affliction doesn't just come forth out of the dust. You did something wrong, and I'm correcting you. And instead of receiving that correction from Christ speaking, literally Christ is speaking through his friends. Instead of him receiving that correction, Job was saying they was wrong. He's like, you guys are wrong. You don't know what you're talking about, right? This is all going to make sense now. If you go back and reread the story of Job, hopefully this makes more sense to you now. Hopefully you're not lost no more. Because, hey, I was lost. When I first read through Job, I was lost. I was like, I don't know what is going on. But, hey, Elder Rick just said keep swimming. So I'm going to keep swimming. It's eventually going to make sense, I guess. I'm just going to keep reading. And now we're here, right? That's what happens when you put God over yourself. You see, it wasn't that big of a deal for me to be right. I was like, oh shit, I don't know what it's saying. I'm just gonna keep going. God's eventually gonna reveal it to me. And because I had that patience, the Most High was like, okay, when you come back, and notice I had to come back. I read through and I came back. I didn't read through and was like, all right, God, thank you for the university. And I went off into the workforce. I'm still in the university, right? Except we're doing dual enrollment. We're in the university. We're doing on-the-job training. We're in the university and we're working, right? We're doing OJT. right? And so again, when these afflictions come, it's not just out of the dust. It doesn't just come out of nowhere, right? Let's go to chapter 9 now and verse 17.
This is Job chapter 9 and verse 17.
My bad, 13.
Verse 13. Job 9 and 13. If God will not withdraw his anger, the proud helpers do stoop under him.
Okay, so this is Job talking. How do we know this is Job talking? In verse 1, it says, then Job answered and said, right? The first, I guess I'd say 80% of the portion of Job is really just Job having an argument with his friends. That's really what's going on. They're arguing, and his friends is like, nigga, you was wrong. Job is like, nah, you niggas is wrong, because instead of giving me comfort, you niggas is trying to rebuke me. You guys have no understanding. Then his friends is like, you have no understanding. Now Job is saying, so that's what's going on, right? But in reality, Job was wrong, right? Because it said in verse 13, Job is saying, if God will not withdraw his anger, the proud helpers do stoop under him. Verse 14.
Verse 14. How much less shall I answer him and choose out my words to reason with him?
So now he's trying to make it seem like God won't even hear out his cause. Because his friends is trying to tell him, hey, if you was wrong, bro, why don't you pray to God? Won't God show you? Won't he reveal it to you? So if you are right, then why have you restrained prayer to God? Right? What was Job's answer? Who can contend with the Lord? The Lord is so mighty and powerful. If the Lord thought I was wicked when I wasn't wicked, how am I going to contend with him? How am I going to reason with him, the smartest man to ever exist? How can I reason to the smartest man? Doesn't that sound dumb? How can I reason with the man who created reasoning? How can I reason with him? Right? That's what Job is saying. He is deflecting. Verse 15.
Verse 15. Whom though I were righteous, yet would I not answer, but I would make supplication to my judge.
So he's like, hey, even though I'm righteous, I'm still not gonna, I'm not gonna say anything. Even though I'm good, God, I know I'm good. That's like the Most High afflicted me because I broke the Sabbath and my car broke down on the highway, and I'm just like, oh man, this always happens, man. On my way to work, car broke down, the tires down. Man, what the hell, man? God, just kill me. If you was gonna have a nigga be late to work, just kill me. Right? That's what Job is doing. Instead of me thinking and being like, damn, I did break the Sabbath. Yep, that's why this happened right here. Because I broke the Sabbath. It's just like that one time I told you when I was new in the truth and I was working on the Sabbath. I bought a Dunkin' Donuts turkey sausage, egg and cheese croissant. I'll never forget it because I got bled for that. The Most High caused me to bleed for that. But I had that sandwich. I was getting up in my truck, and then boom, I smashed my head against the frame of the truck. Wasn't even looking. And then I'm like, damn, that shit hurt. And I'm looking, I'm bleeding. I'm like, God. And guess what? As soon as that happened, I was like, oh shit, it's the Sabbath. I kid you not. As soon as that happened, bam, I said, damn, oh, it's the Sabbath. That's what should have happened with Job. Job, all that happened, bam. Damn, my kids was doing some freaky stuff. That's what Job should have thought about. But instead, Job's like, though I were righteous, yet would I not answer. Right? Verse 17.
Verse 17. For he breaketh me with the tempest, and multiplieth my wounds without cause.
Nah, God had a good reason to afflict me.
Without cause.
Nah, God was right to afflict me.
He multiplied my wounds without cause.
Job thinks God is wrong. He genuinely thinks God is wrong. This is not a man that, I'm not saying he's not a righteous man. I'm just saying in this point of time, this is not a man that was being righteous and God afflicted him and he stayed being righteous. No, this was a righteous man that got taken out by the love of the world, his children that hated God, and instead of accepting it and being accountable, he blamed God. But during all of this folly and foolishness, he never sinned. He never added sin upon sin. Because what did his wife tell him? Curse God and die. You sound stupid. But anyways, God, you wrong though. Like, you wrong for doing all this to me. Why did you do this to me? I'm never going to curse you because I know deep down in my heart I'm actually wrong. And if I was to do that, I'm never going to be saved. So I'm just going to keep complaining until you hear me. Right? And it's just like what Elder Rick said. The Most High knocked the memory of Sabbath. Hey, real talk. And he smacked me upside my head like my dad used to do. You know, come on, boy. You know, that's what he did. That's what he did to me, man. And I was like, oh, snap, it's the Sabbath, right? So Job should have been like, oh, snap. That's because of what I did, right? Now, again, Job thinks God is wrong, but this is, man, and this is why it says that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, because Job was double-minded right now. Because guess what? Just like how Christ knew the scripture, Job knew the scripture too. He was like, damn, nah, if I really curse God, I know I'm gonna be wrong. I know I'm gonna be wrong. But damn, I didn't do anything wrong. Right? He's doing that Isaiah 28:15. He's making lies his refuge. Right? Let's go to verse 20.
Verse 20. If I justify myself, mine own mouth shall condemn me. If I say I am perfect, it shall also prove me perverse.
Okay, so he said, if I justify myself, my own mouth shall condemn me, right? Did he not say in verse 15, whom though I were righteous? Did he not just say that? A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So he just said, nigga, I'm right. Why did you do this to me, God? You're wrong. And now he's also saying, man, if I just say I'm right, then I'm going to condemn myself. My own mouth is going to show that I'm stupid. Right? Get verse 21.
Verse 21. Though I were perfect.
No, even though I wasn't perfect.
Though I were perfect.
Even though I let my children sin and did nothing.
Though I were perfect.
Read.
Yet would I not know my soul. I would despise my life.
So I'm telling you, this is the spiritual battle right here. This is the spiritual warfare. We're seeing it unfold right now with Job's mind, right? Let's go to Job 8 and verse 1.
This is Job chapter 8 and verse 1. Then answered Bildad the Shuhite and said, how long wilt thou speak these things? And how long shall the words of thy mouth be like a strong wind?
So he's saying, man, you saying nothing. That's literally what he's saying. He's saying, you talking air, man. Like, it's hot air coming out your mouth. How long are you going to keep doing this, bro? Right? Get verse 3.
Verse 3, doth God pervert judgment, or doth the Almighty pervert justice?
Now, didn't he say in chapter 9 and verse 17 that God multiplied his wounds without cause? So why do you think his friends is like, nigga, you tripping? That's why they on his ass, because Job was out the spirit. That's why Job's friends was on his ass, because he was out of the spirit. He literally said, and multiplied my wounds without a cause. And notice how he also said he breaketh me with a tempest. A tempest. A tempest is a strong wind, right? How did the Lord break Job with a tempest? That tornado killing all his children. That broke him. He said, he saw his children die. I guarantee you he loved his children. Why do you think he put his children over God? That's how much Job loved his children. Now this puts it into perspective of Abraham willing to sacrifice his only son. I mean, again, I don't want you guys to get me, there was Ishmael. Shut up, okay? According to God, Abraham's only son, right? Abraham was willing to sacrifice him at the commandment of the Lord. He didn't ask God, why are you doing this? God, just kill me. Why would you have me be alive for 90 years to wait on a son? You finally give me my promised child, God, just kill me if you're going to take him away. Is that what Abraham said? No. Abraham was like, you know what, God? All right, because I know you're going to bring him back. Is that what Job thought? Did Job think his children was going to come back? Now, why would Job think his children is not going to come back if his children did not sin? That's because he knows that his children are not going to come back the good way. That is why. That is why he's broken. That's why he's so afflicted. That's why he's so angry. He's mad at God. Job is mad at God. We were reading the story of Job thinking like, man, Job was not mad at God at all. He was mad at himself. That's what I thought. I thought Job was mad at himself. I'm reading this. I'm like, oh, shoot. He's mad at God. Oh, my God. He's mad at God. He's not mad at himself. And he sinned. Oh, he sinned because he didn't do that Deuteronomy 13. He didn't cast that stone. Dang. So that's what Christ said when he said, better is it to enter the kingdom of heaven with one eye than to enter the lake of fire with two eyes. Job was supposed to be like, well, dang, that's what, 8 limbs? All right, 8 limbs gone. I'm going to enter the kingdom on a wheelchair or whatever they had back then. You know, that's how I'm going to enter the kingdom. But he didn't have that mindset, right? And that's what took him out, right? Let's go to Job chapter 6 and verse 15.
This is Job chapter 6 and verse 15. My brethren have dealt deceitfully as a brook, and as the stream of brooks they pass away.
Okay, so he's like, hey, and that's why Job said they bring up the sins of my youth. That's why Job said, they seek to lay a trap for me, because his friends are rebuking him, and Job is like, I didn't do anything wrong. You guys are lying. So not only does Job think that God is wrong, but he thinks his friends are liars. So he thinks God is wrong, and he thinks his friends are liars. What is the only constant that we know for sure? His children sinned, and Job did nothing about it. That's the only 2 things we know for a fact. We don't know. I said his children was on some freaky stuff, but who knows? They could have been getting drunk and doing a different kind of sin. We don't know. At the end of the day, they were in sin. I personally think they was on some freaky stuff. You know, there's too many scriptures that the Most High gives us talking about wine and women and not gazing upon a maid. And in fact, in Sirach 9:9, if you go to verse 8, that's where it says, gaze not upon thy eyes upon a maid. But that's why he said all these things. Why you think Lot had Moab and Ammon? Because when you get a little too turned, things happen, right? What's that saying that they say about the Diddy party? It's like anything happens at a Diddy party or something. Like,
Ain't no party like a Diddy
there you go. Ain't no party like Job's children's parties. All right. I guarantee you they was having a blast, right? Sin that's why I tell the kids. Sin looks good, it smells good, and it tastes good. Man, it's gonna taste amazing. But you're gonna digest it and you're gonna be on the toilet forever. So, and that's what Job had to come to understand. That's what he had to accept. But instead of accepting it, he said, hey, my brethren have dealt deceitfully with me, right? Get verse 22, because I'm saying that Job was saying that his friends are wrong. And this is what I was saying to Brother Sean. You know, I was like, hey, Job's friends, like Job is trying to tell his friends that you guys don't know what you're talking about. That is what Job is. He's coming in a position of pride instead of humbling down and hearing what they have to say. And how do I know this is true? Because verse 22.
This is Job chapter 6 and verse 22. Did I say, bring unto me, or give a reward for me of your substance, or deliver me from the enemy's hand, or redeem me from the hand of the mighty?
Now, to be redeemed means you had to be in wrong, right? To be redeemed means you had to be against the Lord. Job is like, did I ask you niggas to redeem me? Did I ask you niggas to come and give me all these scriptures? Right? Read. Verse 24.
Verse 24. Verse 24, teach me, and I will hold my tongue, and cause me to understand wherein I have erred.
So is Job coming in a position of humility?
Yes. Yes.
He's coming in a position of pride because he's coming in a position of pride,
Yeah.
right? Because he's like, that's like if I sin, Brother Quell's coming to me and he's cutting me up with the scriptures. I'm looking like I came out the operating room, and I'm like, nigga, did I ask you to teach me? Did I ask you to give me scriptures, nigga? You see I'm afflicted, bro. What you doing, right? That's what he's doing. He's like, man, get on with that, right? Let's go to chapter 7 and verse 7 now.
Job chapter 7 and verse 7. Oh, remember that my life is wind. Mine eye shall no more see good.
Okay, the wicked shall fall into mischief. They shall fall. He literally said, hey, I'm not going to see what's good no more because what's good is wrong. That's what Job is thinking. What's good is wrong because I lived good and I'm getting afflicted. So what's good is wrong to God, and I don't know why because it's God, but it's God, so how can I fight with God? That's how Job is coming, right? Let's get verse 8.
Verse 8. The eye of him that have seen me shall see me no more. Thine eyes are upon me, and I am not.
So he's like, hey, you guys see me right now? I'm going to die. I'm not going to be here no more. Man, I'm going to die. I can't wait to die. I'm going to die. That's what Job is saying. Verse 11.
Verse 11. Therefore I will not refrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul.
Okay. So instead of being accountable, he's complaining. Instead of being accountable and being like, and diligently seeking out his issue, like, okay, you know what? I know God afflicts people for a reason. What the hell did I do? What did I do? Oh my God, what did I do? No, he's not doing that, right? He's complaining because he thinks God is wrong for afflicting him, and he can't say anything to God because it's God. So instead of praying and asking for supplication, Job is instead just going to complain, God, just kill me. God, why you still have me alive? Just kill me. God, just kill me. Just kill me, God. God, just kill me. So now, let's think about this. Let's say we have kids, right? And let's say, Brother Quell, we have little Ren, right? And little Ren, you put Ren under some judgment because Ren broke your commandment, right? And Ren is just like, Daddy, my daddy is, oh my God, he afflicted me. He said I can't eat dinner. He said I can't play with my toys. Oh my God, I'm going to complain and complain. Why can't I play with my toys? My daddy took my toys away. I don't know why my daddy took my toys away. What are you going to do?
She's going to get punished. Even more.
Are you going to come out and be like, oh, my sweet baby girl, I'm sorry?
Nah, she going to get a little row.
You're going to be like, hey, shut up. You're going to come down. I know she ain't doing that. You're going to get your belt ready. You're going to get your belt ready, and you're going to whoop her.
Yeah.
Right? What did Christ do when Christ came, when he finally spoke to Job? Girdle up thy loins. Be a man. He said, little nigga, be a man. Stop getting taken out by this weak stuff, man. You worried about your sons and your daughters. Nigga, you supposed to be worried about me. And if you doing right by me, I gave you those daughters, bruh. I gave you those children. So who are you to come to me and say that I am wrong? That is what's going on. Get verse 14, because remember Eliphaz told him about the dream, right? Get verse 14 in chapter 7.
Verse 4. This is Job chapter 7 and verse 14. Then thou scarest me with dreams and terrifiest me through visions.
Didn't Eliphaz tell him about a dream and a vision? Now let's think about this. Why was Job scared if he did nothing wrong? If Job did nothing wrong, when he heard Christ say, shall a mortal man be more just than God? When he heard Christ say his children are far from safety, instead of being scared, he should have had clarity. That moment should have gave him understanding. Oh, and then he could be scared. Not gonna lie, I would be scared. I would have been like, oh shit, yeah, that's really God. I would have been like, no, that's really God, right? That's what I would have been, right? So instead of doing that, he's saying his friends are wrong and, oh, you're trying to scare me with visions. No, they're not trying to scare you with visions. You got scared because you knew it was true. That's why you was scared. You knew it was true. That's what scared you. And I see a comment from Brother Kenny. Hey, shalom, bro. He said, shalom, brothers. Hope y'all got the pork ribs on the grill, red, white, and blue. Oh, yeah, it's the 4th of July, brother. Hell yeah, brother. Oh, that's funny. I forgot about that. But it's funny, too, because, man, like, I forgot it was the 4th today, but they were blowing fireworks all last night and blowing fireworks today. And that legit was not on my mind. That's what happens when you become a new creature. I'm not saying when them fireworks popped, I wasn't like, here they go with that 4th of July BS. I was, but it wasn't something to make a note in my mind of. Like when Paul says, note that man. Yeah, it wasn't something to make a note in my mind. I was just like, they on that BS, right? But, like I said, shalom to you, Brother Kenny. Lord's will, all is good. We free under grace. Yeah, we are technically free by being prisoners of the Lord. And we have the grace to change our ways, So yeah, all praises and glory be to the Most High God. And now let's get Job 15 and verse 1, right? We're kind of jumping back and forth, forward and backwards, but, I want you guys to thoroughly understand the reason why God did what he did to Job. So Job 15 and verse 1.
This is Job chapter 15 and verse 1. Then answered Eliphaz the Temanite and said, should a wise man utter vain knowledge and fill his belly with the east wind?
Okay, so he's saying the same thing that Bildad said. He's like, bro, you ain't saying anything but hot air. Like, are you gonna fill your belly with the east wind? He's basically saying that you are digesting things that are of no profit to you. You are uttering things that are of no profit to you. They're of no profit to the conversation. We're having this conversation right now, rebuking you so you can change. The things you're saying has no sustenance to it. The things you're saying has no profit to the conversation that we're having. You're saying random stuff right now. We don't care. We care about you understanding what you need to do to change, right? Let's get verse 5 in chapter 15.
This is Job chapter 15 and verse 5. For thy mouth uttereth thine iniquity, and thou choosest the tongue of the crafty.
Now, you know what that sounds like? And you guys don't have to go to it, but I'll go back to it. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like Job 9 and 21. If I justify myself, my own mouth shall condemn me. Verse 21, though I were perfect. That is what that sounds like, right? Verse 15, whom though I were righteous. So when we go to Job 15 and 5, he says, for thine own mouth uttereth thine iniquity. He's like, bro, you literally said you are in sin. Because you out your own mouth said that if you claim that you're right, then you're wrong. But here you go saying that you're right. That's why he said right after that, thou choosest the tongue of the crafty. He's talking like Esau now. That's what Job is doing. He's talking like Esau now. And Eliphaz can see through that. He's like, bro, cut all the BS out. That's what Eliphaz is saying. Cut all that BS out. Because you out your own mouth said that you're wrong. But you're trying to say that we're lying to you when we love you. You out your own mouth said that you might be in error. But you're coming after us and saying that we should give you sweet nothings. No, we're going to give you the sweetest fruits on the sharpest thorns that you can swallow down and digest. When your body goes through those thorns, and you're going to taste that fruit, and that fruit's going to change you. We don't care about giving you the GMO cereal. We don't care about giving you the GMO bread. We don't care about giving you the hot fries. I love hot fries, but we don't care about giving you the hot fries, right? We want to give you the things that's going to actually be sustenance for yourself, for your spirit, right? Let's go to 1 Kings 8 and 46. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 8 and 46, because I don't want to stay too long-winded on this. And believe me, we are going to part 2 this. And so now that we understand that Satan is not, just a celestial being, we understand that here, hold on, I got y'all. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So now, as we can see on the screen, we know this isn't Satan right here. This is literally something that's made up. Just like the white Jesus, that's made up, does not exist. This is made up. When you look up King Solomon and you see that white dude, that is made up. When you look up King David, you see that white dude, that's made up. The King David in Louisville, that is for some reason uncircumcised, even though he's King David, and he's somehow uncircumcised, that's how you know it was made up too, right? He looks like a whole Edomite, right? So this guy right here, this guy isn't real. You shouldn't feel scared when you see this figure, right? Now, I'm not saying you can go and walk around with a shirt with that on your shirt. You can choose to do what you want to do, but that goes into 1 Corinthians 8. Though we have this liberty, let's not let this liberty be a stumbling block for those whose conscience is weak. I'm not gonna put fringes on a shirt with fake Satan on it, because I don't want somebody that's weak and conscious to be like, oh yeah, I knew that ish wasn't real. Because look, he got the Baphomet. He got the Leviathan, right? And I mean, I'm not, hey, if you scared of that, hey, it looks scary. I ain't mad at you. I ain't knocking you. I'm just letting you know that at the end of the day, this guy right here, these two people, they don't exist. The guy on the left don't exist, and the guy on the right don't exist. They do not exist. Where they do exist is in your mind, where the real Satan exists. Your mind is Satan, and that is why our hearts is deceitful. So let's go ahead and get that 1 Kings 8 and 46.
This is 1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 46. If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not.
No, Job didn't sin.
For there is no man that sinneth not.
Job did not commit a sin when he got afflicted.
There is no man that sinneth not.
Read.
And thou be angry with them and deliver them to
Hold
the
up. Didn't Satan come to Christ's mind?
And thou be angry with them.
Okay, so Job sinned, right?
Mhm.
And Christ got angry, right? Read.
And deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captives unto the land of the enemy, far and near.
Okay, so, hey, Job sinned, right? There is no man that sinneth not. Job committed a sin, right? And from him committing that sin, God was angry with him. Christ was angry with him and delivered his cattle to the Chaldeans, did he not? And delivered his servants to the Sabians, right? So what was Job supposed to do? Verse 47.
Verse 47. Yet if they shall bethink themselves,
If they shall complain,
if they shall bethink themselves,
if they shall murmur,
yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land whither they were carried captives, and repent and make supplication unto thee,
and don't pray to God.
And make supplication unto thee,
Restrain their prayer,
and make supplication unto thee in the land of them that carried them captive, saying, we have sinned and have done perversely, we have committed wickedness.
So if Job did this from the beginning, verse 48, verse 49.
Verse 49, then hear thou their prayer and their supplication in heaven thy dwelling place, and maintain their cause.
Okay. So when to here, so we can kind of wrap it up, right? So Job was in sin, right? Job sinned. Christ was angry, delivered his cattle, his substance to the enemy, right? Delivered his children to the tempest, right? And that broke Job. That broke his spirit, right? And instead of bethinking himself, in verse 47, Job instead thought God was wrong. Instead of listening to the counsel of his brothers, Job instead thought they were lying to them. Instead of Job seeking out his matter, Job thought he already knew his whole cause when he didn't, right? So that is why the story of Job happened. That is why the Most High wants us to know about the story of Job. Not because the Most High wants us to look and have us understand like, oh, we can be righteous and just all of a sudden God's going to afflict us, so be ready, right? No, that is letting us know that when every man is tempted, he is tempted of himself, right? That is letting us know that God isn't the one that comes and puts temptation on us. Our mind, the devil, that is the devil, is the one that puts the temptation on us. It's a battle against ourselves, right? And why you think Christ said it's spiritual warfare? Because in Matthew 11, it was Matthew 10 or 11, in the book of Matthew, right? Christ said that if Satan cast out Satan, then Satan is divided against himself, right? And a nation divided against itself cannot stand. So if you are divided against your Satan, that Satan cannot stand. If you are constantly fighting the evil thoughts that you have that go against God, those evil thoughts won't stand. But if you stop dividing good and evil, if you stop dividing right and wrong, then guess what? Those evil thoughts will now have place in your mind, which is your heart, which is the devil, the greatest deceiver, the best liar of them all, because your heart is deceitful above all things. We know God doesn't lie. God doesn't change. So if God said the most deceitful thing is the heart, we know the devil is the most deceitful. Our heart is the devil. Our mind is the devil. So when you're watching those Disney movies, follow your heart. Throw tomatoes at the screen and then clean it up. You know what I'm saying? Because you probably can't be watching TV with tomatoes all over your screen, right? So when you see these movies, it's like, follow your dream, kid. You carve out your own destiny, kid. You know? when you see those movies and you see that, your stomach should start bubbling a little bit, because you should want to go to the bathroom, because that should have made you sick, right? So yeah, like I said, we're going to part 2 this, and in part 2, we're going to go into with the same understanding that we gathered here. Is that Satan the same all throughout the scriptures? Can there possibly be an actual person with the pitchfork? Because I'm going to tell y'all right now, when I was reading through and I wanted to find out who was Satan, it was because our elder, he always says, you know, take the mysticism out of it. Take the mysticism out of it. You know, a lot of like the most wild revelations that I had about the truth was from him breaking things down that I thought was way deeper than what it was. And it ended up actually being deep, but in a different way, right? When we take that mysticism out, we can then be grounded and understand what things are, right? We misinterpreted Job because God intentionally said, hey, Job was a righteous man, the one that eschewed evil, right? And because we read that, we didn't even think 1 Kings 8:46. Maybe Job did sin, and we just kept on going. And even if celebrating a birthday is a sin, Job was still wrong for not addressing that and correcting his children, right? So, and like I said, I was reading this so I can honestly support that the devil was a real being, a celestial body, because my understanding was that the devil works for God, and God gives the devil orders to go out and confuse people, right? And that's why I was reading that, because I was like, man, I know the elder always says, you know, take out the mysticism, but man, this got to be a real person. He's talking to him. But then when I started thinking, I'm like, wait, I talk to myself. before I do something wrong, I actually talk to myself. The scripture says to extol not thyself in the counsel of thy own heart, right? So the scriptures are saying don't just sit there and talk to yourself forever, right? David did say he made diligent search for his spirit when he laid on his bed. Psalm 77:6. So when we take all that out, we can then find a better and more grounded explanation to why things happen in the scriptures. So yeah. Do you have anything for us, Brother Quell? Well, hey, you know this. All praises. Hey, Lord's will, this was edifying the people. And if you were edified, just know it came from God. It didn't come from any of us. You know, it all came from God. So all praises and glory be to the Most High God. Let's never forget to say that. Give him his honor always. Give him the double portion. And let's enjoy our double portion of the Sabbath. So
And continue to endure, as always.
all praises. Hey, continue to endure. So, and that, I say shalom to y'all, Israel, and let's enjoy the Sabbath.